Today on Homeworthy, we're exploring historic homes with a modern twist. First, we visit Sonny Kearns' San Francisco Victorian townhouse, where modern and antique furnishings meet rich history. Then, content creator Emma Paton shows us her renovated Georgian home in Suffolk, blending traditional architecture with vibrant Scandinavian-inspired design. Next, we head to Minneapolis to see how Matthew Trettel and Ryan Hanson have restored the Alfred Pillsbury mansion, preserving its Tudor Revival charm with a fresh, family-oriented vision. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Sonny Kearns and welcome to my 1890s Italianette here in San Francisco. So we just kind of stepped into the first room off of the hallway, and we're going to peep into there in a second. But this is it's kind of where we entertain the most. And so we definitely do spend a lot of time in here. It's a very large, double-sized living room with a dining area. If you come over here, you kind of see what makes San Francisco iconic, in my opinion, is these bay windows. It's kind of interesting because even new builds have to have this feature now because it's iconic to the city's landscape. And it's so beautiful on a sunny day. You can kind of look out, see the street pass. We live just around the corner from the Painted Ladies, which are the iconic San Francisco row of homes. And so you often see the tourists coming past, and it's nice. You know, you feel like you're in the midst of everything, which is really quite cool. So this is sort of where guests sort of first walk in, and this is really nice because it's an intimate area. My partner and I am friends. We have coffee in the morning, martinis by night, often where I stumble back up the stairs because it's so close. But I'll show you some beautiful things about this space more specifically. Now, what I'd say about this room is actually, you know, it's typically Victorian. It's where sort of back in the day, 100 years ago, this home was built in 1890. It's where guests would have come in at first before they went into the dining room for dinner. And it's actually pretty narrow, and kind of when you're working in a space like this, you have to really think about the design and what you put in there. You'll notice I don't have so much furniture. I haven't filled it with furniture because I want people to be able to move around, have different conversations. And so as I said, you can kind of see the beautiful bay windows. One of the things I'd highlight in this room is the architectural detail. We were really fortunate because it's kind of made the design easy in some sense. All of the details are original from 1890. We sort of renovated them slowly, really brought them back to life. You can see a lot of the molding into the windows with intricate roses. I replicate that with the flowers I choose because it's important to me. But I just love the detail that, you know, Victorian design put in. That you just don't see in modern homes anymore. You know, things like the curves of these walls and these little details, they're actually really hard to do. And so to be able to move into a home and restore these different pieces is sort of a dream of mine, so I love it. One of my favorite things that I'll show you in the house is this Pierre Jeanneret style chair. Actually, when I first bought it, it had a boucle fabric, don't judge me, because I know boucle is getting a bad rep right now, and it was white as well, which I know neutrals aren't necessarily the thing of the current. So I reupholstered it in a House of Hackney fabric. You'll notice throughout the house, I really lean into nature. I love nature, I love what it does to a home. And so it was really important to me to kind of bring that element into here. And I just love it. It's like a painting. And very comfortable, I have to say. After a long day of work, I wish the fire still worked. I would sit here all day. My dog sits here, which makes me upset because he drools. He's an English bulldog. And so I'm constantly having to come through. But hey, that's the joy of having beautiful pets, I guess. You'll see here is our fireplace. We haven't restored this yet. So you're kind of seeing it in its raw form. What you've got to remember is that, you know, this fireplace has really stood the test of time. We've had 2 earthquakes in San Francisco. This home hasn't had any repairs since then since those two major earthquakes. So you get to see some of where it's moved, which I really love. I love history, and I'll tell you more about the history of the home as we go through it. But I just love to see the cracks. Call me weird, but I like to think kind of what the homes experience, those different sort of moments. And I think it's really beautiful. So eventually it'll be fully restored back to its glamour. But for now, I love it. I think it really sort of shows. And, you can see the intricate nature of the fireplace with, these different elements, the different shells, these different pieces that were, I can imagine, really hard to carve. And I think that's so beautiful. I love the craftsmanship. It really inspires me. I think this mirror gives you an indication of the ceiling height in these rooms. Another feature of Victorian homes that I love. I've really spent much of my time renovating mid-century homes, which are far different. They're a different aesthetic. These homes are very sort of large from a ceiling perspective, 13 feet ceilings. I have the longest Swiffer in the world to try and clean these. It's become a hobby of mine. Don't hire me, I'm not for hire. I do it just for my own home. But essentially, it's really high, and you can see how we've tried to play with that height with this mirror, which is from Restoration Hardware. It gives a nod back. I'd love an antique mirror. I've not found the right piece yet. So maybe when you come back, you'll be able to see kind of what we do with this space. But it gives you an indication to it, to really sort of bring that home in. I do want to show you my fabulous sconces, and I'll tell you why they're fabulous. These are Murano, but believe it or not, these came from the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas. It kind of makes me still feel like that party person that I was 10 years ago. The fact that I have this, I can't imagine the stories that these sconces have to tell on some of the things that go down in Vegas. But I guess that's the saying. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Not anymore, because I'm going to get these lights talking to me. But I think they're so beautiful, super glamorous. You'll see in the house, I collect Murano. I am a Murano addict. My friends tell me I need to go to Murano therapy. But I love, once again, the craftsmanship. The same thing you see in the fireplace, you see in the intricate nature of the glass. And this is just another beautiful example. Not vintage, about 22, not antique, sorry, about 22 years old, but still just as gorgeous. This painting actually was in my partner's great-grandmother's home, and I love that. You'll see I go from modern to grandma pretty quickly, and I just love those elements. Still original frame, really stood the test of time, and I love that moment to really honor his grandmother in our dream home, which has taken a long time to kind of get to. So I think that's really beautiful. You'll see here this sort of velvet couch. It's curved. It really plays new sort of shapes into the room. It gives it an interest. It's velvet. The dog loves it. This is his favorite spot because towards the middle of the day, the sun comes in, and he's a sunbather like me. He grew up with me, so he's learned from the best. And so, this too, velvet's hard to kind of maintain in that element, but I don't mind. My dog gets to go everywhere. It's a home we live in. I really wanted to play into the curve of the sofa, so you can see this Jake Arnold Crate and Barrel coffee table, kind of playing into that curve, really accentuating it, which is super important to me. I did miss one thing, which is my favorite thing, and I apologize. It's this planter in the window. This has a really funny, sedacious story to some degree. It actually came from Senator George Shultz's house. His wife actually had it in her office. It is a Japanese censer. It's about 300 years old. And so what they would have done back in the day is put sand, of course, and then incense outside a temple. And I think that's so beautiful. I love these little guys holding it up. One day I will be that size in, I don't know, whenever, maybe when I'm 60. I'm going to live my life fully and not diet. But I think they're absolutely stunning, and I love what this does to this space with these beautiful tropical plants. I can't wait for this to fully grow and just kind of be in this tropical garden. Very Victorian. Victorians love their plants, and so I'm really giving a nod to them by kind of having these. Except I'm cheating, because these are easy to maintain. You just pop the water in the pot, and you leave them for a month and they grow. And I kind of like that element, so that's good. So we can continue kind of walking through. You'll see one of very many Murano chandeliers in our space. This one I absolutely love. It's by Barovier, super delicate, not massively detailed. You'll see some of the other chandeliers in the home are. And I really wanted this space to feel airy, to feel open. Guests come in, they can move around. It's not, there's not too much in it. And that really plays into this chandelier too, that clean, airy nature of it, which I really love. It's a showpiece for me. It's one of my, actually it was my first Murano chandelier I bought, and so I'm very attached to it. It's missing an arm, but you'll never know. Well, you know now, I've told you. But it's my favorite one, I promise. And I'd care for your thoughts as we go through and you see the different chandeliers. Maybe you'll choose one that you think is your favorite, but this is mine, which I love. So if you come in through here, you'll kind of see we collect a lot of art, and actually we support a lot of up-and-coming artists. This artist is very established, Dean West. He's going to kill me for saying this, but I think we've become friends now. Maybe I can ask for a discount. No, you never ask an artist for a discount, let me give you that. But it's shot in Palm Springs. It's very David Hockney inspired. It looks like a painting. It is a picture. I always laugh with my partner that I'd love for this to be me and that to be him, but it's probably the other way around. But I just think it's so stunning. And you know, to come into a space like a Victorian, it changes your expectations of what it can be. You know, to see this modern photograph with just above these really intricate details. I love it. I think it really plays into something a little bit different. Okay, you can see my Murano addiction continuing with this beautiful palm tree lamp. I purchased this from Italy. I won it at an auction. I'd had one too many martinis and I saw it and I thought, wow, that's such a good price. I didn't know it would cost thousands to ship, but whatever, we're here now and it arrived in one piece. But I love it. Scared about it being here because, you know, people sort of might walk into it, but I adore it. You can sort of see how intricate these pieces are. And one of the things with Murano lights and fixtures and those pieces that make it unique is every piece comes apart. And so this whole lamp essentially is formed of many tiny little pieces. And so it's easy to transport. It's also just so gorgeous. All of it hand blown. You can kind of see the bubbles, these leaves. It really leans into some of the palm trees you see over here. I really wanted nature to form a major part of this room, which I love. Back to the architectural details of this room. Just look at how beautiful you know, this molding is. It's really hard to replicate this, and I gotta tell you, when we moved in, really the house hadn't been touched much in 80 years, but these beautiful details had really stood the test of time, and I just love it. You know, I don't know if you can see close up, but you can see fruit and those different bits and pieces in it. Just absolutely stunning, and it really separates the room. A friend of mine had said, why didn't you turn it into 2 rooms? And I just could not do that. I think it's so stunning to have this grand entertaining space. I'm so lucky and fortunate to have that. But I think this is such a beautiful element. Another part of the architectural feature that I love in the home is these doors. I mean, you just don't, I know I keep saying it, but you don't see things like this anymore. You know, look at that temple-like structure on top of the door with the little gold detailing. I painted that gold. My arm still hurts from doing that. I think I sweat copious amounts of buckets when I was doing it to try not to get it on the white. But it had to be. I wanted that tiny little bit of glamour. I'm from the East End of London, and if anyone watching is from the East End of London, we love a little bit of glitz and glamour. And so I had to bring that into this door, but I just think it's so beautiful. Actually, a friend of mine who owns an antique store here in the city said there's a lot of references to the Freemasons in this house. And so you can kind of see that temple-like structure within the architecture, and I'll show you some other elements where you see that too. But I just think it's so stunning to have details like that instead of just a plain door. Makes cleaning a little bit harder, but you know, I got good at it now. I could start my own business. But I just love it. I think all these different curves in the door are just absolutely stunning. It's one of my favorite things. It made my life so much easier as a designer to come in and just design the space because the architecture told me what to do. It gave me a blueprint, which I absolutely adore. Let's pop over here because I want to show you the loves of my life. I don't have kids. Well, I do. I have fur babies. And so this is their portraits. I always imagine my sister has one child. I've got like 15 different nieces and nephews. They come every year. I know all their names, I promise. And so I wanted to have pictures of my kids up here. And so you can see my 2 cats, my little bulldog, the slobber monster as I call him, Elvis, he wiggles his butt. That's how he got his name. But I really wanted that to be a feature. This home has to be a representation of me and my partner, and these guys are a massive part of that, and I absolutely adore them. More Murano, I know what you're gonna say. This is a beautiful Murano gold lamp. I love gold in this room. I really wanted to kind of run that through the house. You'll see it. And I think it's such a beautiful piece of work that I absolutely adore. This table is sort of a French antique. I love these tables that connect to the wall. You'll see them a lot in the house. I think they provide kind of an extension of the architecture in some senses, and really kind of provide that interest. Look at all the intricate wood that you kind of see here, the little detailing. That was all carved by hand. And you can imagine the kind of patience and the love and the care that goes into it. And so I see it as a duty of mine to bring these forward into kind of the next decades, the next years, for other people to enjoy. So I definitely love to look at this. More Murano. We won't go into it too deep. A beautiful Murano Barovier and Toso picture frame, one of the biggest I've ever found, and such a beautiful element. I really love big frames. I love to show off my family. A lot of designers don't often encourage lots of photos of family and things like that. It might be a bit cliche, but I love it. These are the people that inspire me. They push me every day in life, and so I want them to be there every step of the way. They're back in the UK, and so being here in San Francisco, I need those constant reminders that they're there. So they get the biggest frame in the house, which is important for me. So I'll pop over here, and this is where you kind of see where guests in this room would go from that kind of cozy cocktail couch into our dining area. I really love to mix modern and old. It's my kind of style. I love it. And so this table is sort of from Beau Concept. We've actually had this table for about 7 years. I really like to try and keep furniture. I hate furniture going to the landfill. And so if I can make a piece work, I'm going to make it work because it's really important to me to do. And so a large dining table. I'm hosting a murder mystery night tonight here. It's roaring 20s prohibition theme. So if you came back later, you'd see me with a moustache, a wig slicked back because I've got no hair anymore, a white tux. My partner's going as a French maid, don't ask. But you'd see all sorts of things in here. And that's the great thing about this space is you can really entertain in it, and I love it. You see kind of these mid-century chairs. Sort of, we've had these once again for around about 7 years. And as I said, I love to mix different eras. They can really work together if you really lean into it and really consider it. And so actually this table was sort of gave us that sort of design idea for the rest of the space. We really wanted to make it work. We didn't want to throw it away or sell it. It was important for us to kind of keep. If you come over here, you'll see these beautiful pictures. Would love guesses on what those are, but I'll tell you. These are actually bus signs from the UK. And so if you remember back in the day, I do sadly, when bus conductors would have to manually turn to the destination, this is what those are. So you can see Swindon, anyone from Swindon, whoop whoop, Bishop's Cleeve and Cheltenham. And so I think it's really cool to have these elements. They connect me back to my home. You know, and all the journeys that these would have been through. And once again, they're really big, so they help accentuate that kind of ceiling height. You know, and I absolutely adore it. We have another one over there that says, sorry, not in service. And I often put that as my background to work. So people get the message without me being too direct. And so more Murano here. This is a beautiful Scavo Murano. This technique actually is no longer, you're no longer able to produce because of the chemicals used in the process. So these pieces, few and far between. And I actually found this one at a little thrift store. I actually offered more because the guy was selling it for very less. And I thought, no, I can't scam you here. I'm not that kind of person. But I absolutely adore it. You'll notice in the house that, you know, while the walls are white, I love to add color in the accents. You know, I think color is important. In this sort of space, it doesn't have a ton of light, a lot of light at the front, not so much light at the back. So you got to lean into that from a paint color perspective, but I still want to meet my color, sort of the color where it is. And so this is just a beautiful piece. I love it. It's so grand. Another little English bench. I have a lot of English antiques. I got to do my grandmother proud. She'd want me to have English antiques in here. And so this is a beautiful dining bench. I've not refinished it because I just love the bruises. I love the different elements in it to really sort of tell you a little bit about the past. And so this is great. I love to kind of mix it up with chairs and dining bench to give that dining table a little bit of interest. And so this I often sit in, lay down in at the end of the night, wake up in, you tell me, but I do love it. I think it's absolutely stunning. Once again, as I said, you'll see a lot of the tables sort of extending from the wall. This is from the Expert, and I just love it. I'm a marble addict too. I love marble, and I love different kinds of marble. I will never say this one right. I think it's Emperado, correct me, but I just love that brown detailing. And this is a beautiful sort of ceramic piece that I purchased from Selfridges in London. And I love that kind of wonky nature of the two different ears. I love pieces that create conversation. It's really important to me. So finally, I want to tell you about the lady in my life. I have a few. I have my mother, my partner's mother, my sister. If I've missed someone, don't hate me. This is Mary, Queen of Scots. And actually, it's I think it's about 200 years old. It's been restored. You can kind of see some of the restore here. I got told it's Mary, Queen of Scots. I've done a lot of research. I'm not sure about that, but I am a fan. I've always sort of been interested in British history, particularly going back to the Tudors, the Stuarts. Mary, Queen of Scots was one. And so I just love her being in this house. I think she had a lot of grave injustice as a woman in the era, but she showed a lot of bravery, resilience, and really pushed for that. And so I absolutely adore having her here, sit here in this space. And you'll kind of see, I mean, you have this really old painting of Mary, Queen of Scots, just above this really mid-century Paul McCobb piece, which is my style once again. It's really important for me to bring antiques and moderns together because I want antiques to have a life. You know, I want them to have a long life, and if I can inspire people to bring antique pieces into their home, even if it's a modern new build, I've done my job, because I think it's important we preserve these pieces. These are real historical pieces that are critical to kind of maintain. So the final piece I'm going to show you in this room before I show you my grand reveal, and you'll see what I mean by that in a second, is one of my favorite Murano table lamp. Okay, I said that's my favorite Murano chandelier. This is my favorite Murano table lamp. It's just stunning. You know, I can't tell you any more about this. It's got the most beautiful neck in gold. It's almost jellyfish-like in some senses, which I love from the base. It's just stunning. And all the bubble details, the height of it, it really glows. It's a special piece to sort of sit in our dining room, and I absolutely love it. Okay, you ready for the next room? So these are original pocket doors. I'll tell you something, the previous owner was an artist, and he would often host theatre productions in this house. And so you can imagine the guests would sit in this long room, and then sort of you would reveal the stage. And these doors are just so beautiful. They're heavy, they're thick. It's definitely something we will preserve because we love that nature of kind of separating the rooms. You know, back in sort of 1890 when this house was built, this is where sort of the dining room was. So I think I mentioned that I changed some things about the house. I moved the dining room into here to kind of maintain one space for the guests. Because in modern age, we love the TV. I'm a big Real Housewives fan. Shout out to Erica Jane, Sudden Strack, all those different folks. Dubai, if you've not seen it, phenomenal. And so this is where I spend a lot of my time, in truth, when I'm not entertaining. So you can come into our living room. And one of the things I hope that you notice straight away is the wallpaper. I adore wallpaper. And actually, it wasn't used so much for many decades, and I'm so excited to see it kind of returning to people's homes, because it is a live painting in some senses. If you come over here to sort of these elements, you'll see this wonderful, beautiful mural. This is a mural of the French countryside. It kind of makes me feel like I'm in the French countryside often. And this room doesn't have so much light. It's got our garden to the right. It's got the street to the left. And so I think you can kind of transport yourself in some senses with the wallpaper that kind of exists in here. And I just love it. It's by Ballart Studios, a Swedish-based wallpaper company. You're going to see a lot of their wallpaper in our home. And it's just so great. And shout out to my wallpaper folks, because you can't see a single seam unless you go super, super close. So that helps it feel really sort of fluid in the space. So I sort of call this my nod to Victorian modern, my nod to the roaring 20s in some senses. This room, it's cozy, it's warm, it's got sort of beautiful sort of different features within it. The first thing is my sort of Italian velvet sofa, plush, pretty large, although if you saw my dog in it, you'd think that's tiny, because he's 75 pounds of muscle, and yet he lies in the most weird directions, and so takes over the whole space. But it's so cozy to kind of have this really here, more Murano in the background. This is a polyhedry sconce. In fact, there wasn't a sconce there, and so this is my most proud DIY moment. I sort of wide it up, I put a plug in it, tiny little hole in the back, and it automatically comes on, which I think is my proudest. I can share with my dad that I did something from a DIY perspective, and I think he'll be pretty happy with me. At the background here, I'm sure you noticed, this is an antique Japanese screen. This is about sort of 250 years old. I originally had it up on the wall, and then when we had the wallpaper done, I still wanted it to be part of this room, and so I laid it here on the floor. And I think it kind of adds that 3D dimension, which I love. I love the gold. I told you about that, East London. And so I really wanted to bring that element to here. I love that you can see imperfections in it, where it sort of stood the test of time. And I think it's so gorgeous. It's also very functional. And I really believe in design, style must meet function. You might be asking me, how is it functional? I hide a lot of things behind here. So dog toys, I've got a little bar behind there too. It's not really a bar, it's just bottles of alcohol, but let's call it that for what it is. But it creates a moment, and it helps the room feel more cozier, because it kind of closes you in, which is really lovely. So this is my piece. I also love the fact that the birds replicate the birds up here, so it really connects with each other. And once again, leans into that nature that I really wanted from this home. I wanted to bring the outside in, and I did that with the wallpaper and elements like this. So as I said, my style ethos is color should be part of a design, but let's do it in moments, let's do it in pops. So I have these beautiful blue velvet swivel armchairs from CB2. I love that they're super functional. They really add that beautiful pop of color, which I love. And these kind of dictated that blue nature of this room. You can see it in this beautiful light, almost lava style, if anyone remembers the lava lamps. Back in the day, I love that element. This is one piece of hand-blown glass. It's super heavy. I'm not sure how they got that blue element in there, but I think it's so beautiful and really ties into this sort of space. Another original fireplace. This one has its summer cover, which is a really nice touch. You can once again see that detail in the Carrara marble, just that hand carving to really create a moment. I love that. I think, it wasn't just let's throw 4 pieces of marble on there and call it a fireplace. Let's really delicately create a moment, and I think that's absolutely stunning. Now, I know Jenna Lyons, who's one of my favorites on The Real Housewives of New York, said you should never have a TV above the fireplace, particularly a frame TV. Jenna, I had nowhere else to put it. Please don't hate me. And this is our TV room. And yes, I have a fake piece of art on it right now to show all of you, but I actually think it looks pretty good. There really isn't, if you look around, I call this the house of many doors. If anyone's been to the Winchester Mystery House in the South Bay, San Jose, That house has doors that leads to nowhere. Same here, we have so many doors, and so not so much wall space. And this is our room. This is where we come to relax. We don't often have guests in here. If we do, we're playing card games or Uno. I didn't know there was lots of international rules for Uno, so I go by the UK rules and get in trouble. I get accused of cheating by my partner when I play, but this is kind of our snug. And so anything kind of goes in here. You know, it's not precious. You'll notice that I have a white Moroccan rug, super, super cozy. Kind of adds to that element, so soft on the feet. All of our pets love it. Our cats lay there for days, particularly when the sun comes in from the windows. And I think that sort of adds to that really cozy element. Okay, here you'll see my showpiece. This is a beautiful antique Murano chandelier. I don't know if you can see all of the details here, but just the degree by which they crafted this, individual tulips kind of sort of circle around the chandelier. You've got these dramatic leaves coming down. Once again, this all comes apart, so you could easily put it in a suitcase, I promise, because it's so practical to really move and to preserve and those different elements. And you know, given that this is our snug, I really wanted glamour. I wanted it to be ornate. I wanted it to be a moment, that old Hollywood glamour, and I absolutely adore it. You can see some of the crown molding too on the ceilings. It's got fruit, it's got vegetables. This would have been the dining room, so I can imagine they tried to connect to that to some degree, and just stunning. I want to preserve these for years, I promise. Actually, this house was put up on a prominent Instagram account when it was being sold, and it got thousands of comments from people saying it's going to be torn down, it's going to be, all the character will be taken out. My message to those people, it won't, I promise. It's really important to preserve this home. 1892 earthquakes. The city wanted to build modern houses and tear these houses down to make way for apartments back in the 70s. No way, we've got to preserve it. It's really important. It's a beautiful Italianette. And so all of these different features, I promise, will still exist. You can come and check me in a year to make sure, because I love them. I'm personally attached to them, which is really important. One final thing I'm going to show you in this room is this china cabinet. Now, I won't open it because it's a state, but this would have been kind of where they put their china. I've not restored this, so you're seeing it in its real raw form. The only thing I did is I added these antique mirrors to it. It was clear glass before. I have a real issue with clutter. I hate to see it. And so that's why I kind of wanted to put these mirrors into here. In fact, this is PVC, would you believe? I spray painted it. So I spray painted mirror, I sprayed some vinegar on it, spray painted black. So it's not as reflective as a typical mirror, but it's 1/10 of the price, and a really easy solution that anyone can add into their home. And you can see it's pretty glamorous. I love it. Once again, you kind of see all these ornate features they would have put. This bit up here is where they would have had a bust. I'm still waiting for my partner to give me a birthday present of my face. So I can put this up here. So whenever he's in here, he'll know I exist. But he's not quite done that yet. So for now, I'm still on the hunt for an antique bust. Anyone knows one, please give me a shout, because I think that would really finish this cabinet off. So now I'm going to take you back into the hallway, where all things begin. We just restored the hallway, so you'll be able to see kind of what it kind of looks like. It still has the original floorboards, which we kind of refinished. And so if you kind of come into this space, you'll see this grand hallway. I love it. From these double doors in, this is a traditional San Francisco home, so you have those step-ups into the space. This door is not restored. I know it needs to be restored. You can still see an animal from 100 years ago who scratched at that desperately to get at the mailmen. I hear that's a thing in America that they tried to do. So I can imagine that's the story that I'm telling myself every time I leave the house. Just gorgeous. I mean, yes, it's in its raw form. Yes, it needs to be restored. But this is my message to all of you. Don't worry about it. Take your time with it. Be patient. Really lean into the home so that you can determine what to do with it, because that's the most important part in preserving old homes, is to take your time. It's not a rush. It's not a marathon. This is your home. Let it be what you want it to be. And so I love these. I often open these double doors. We have porch parties with our neighbors. I found a really great community here. I moved to the US 6 years ago. I never thought I'd live in a home like this. I would walk past these homes and be like, wow, I wonder who lives there. Now I do. And you know, I just love that. I'm so in love with this home, probably a bit too much. But kind of you walk into this foyer. Now this is a rather slim hallway. And so, you know, within any slim hallway, you've really got to think about the furniture that you're putting in here, not to overwhelm it too much. You know, I could probably put a rug here, but I've not found the right one yet. That's me taking my time. I never want to buy the wrong thing because I hate anything to kind of be mass-produced, reproduced over and over for the sake of my own design. I want to take my time with it to really make sure I love a piece. So this is an antique English bench. As I said, my grandmother told me you must get some English antiques in the space, and so this is one of those pieces. I put new handles on it. I did refinish this piece because it was really important to me. I love the chevron pattern that's kind of in there. It's one of those pieces that you'd probably expect something grander as soon as you walk into the house. I like to surprise people. It probably belongs in a cottage somewhere in the Cotswolds, but it's in this Italianette, and I love that it kind of sits there with pride. That's really important to me. Now these lamps are crystal. They actually came from one of the oldest antique stores in the US. I can't remember the name, which is terrible of me, but it's the oldest antique store in the US based out of New York City. And so it's French by design. You kind of see that hand-cut crystal all the way down. It's almost column-like from the Roman era, which I love. Once again, more gold. Hey, don't hate on me. I love the glitz, I love the glamour. And I've really tried to tie that gold into sort of all the other elements, the mirrors. You can see this antiqued mirror with the gold splatters all throughout. And so you probably see here a foot sculpture. Don't ask me, I won it at auction. It arrived. I get a lot of odd questions about what I'm into when people see these spaces. I just love it. I think it's surprising when you walk through the door to see a foot. That's the first thing that greets you. Maybe it's a reminder too that people need to take off their shoes. I know I don't have my shoes off because these deserve to be seen, but I think maybe it's a reminder. People are like, clearly this is a no shoe household, which is great. The first thing you do see when you walk through the door though is this grand, beautiful staircase. Actually, when we walked in this house, it wasn't in this state. We've slowly restored it, as I said. Sort of when you walked into this house 8 months ago, it was entirely covered from ceiling to floor with wallpaper, really old wallpaper, around about 110 years old. And it pained me to pull that wallpaper off, but it was dark. It was falling off. We weren't able to restore it. And so we pulled that down and just sort of opened it up, and sort of painted it in a really neutral color. You might say, why didn't you go dark? Why didn't you choose color? It really doesn't have much light in this hallway. And so I wanted to ensure that we bring that light throughout by going really neutral. Also notice the wood. The wood is really dark. And so you can go one of two ways with dark wood. You can, lean into it and go really dark yourself, or you can make a moment of it, let it stand out. And that's what I wanted to. Same sort of detail that you saw in the living room, that kind of structural, that sculpture style molding in the doors. I think it really adds to the grandness. And look, I'm 6'2", so you can imagine how tall these doors are. As I said, Swiffer's my best friend. Actually, one of the things I do want to highlight in this room is this mural on the top. You'll see how I tried to paint around it and then stopped. Yes, I failed, but I got told by an artist friend of mine that you almost need to be Michelangelo style kind of painting, laying flat on scaffolding to do it. Because I got to tell you, I think I had an arm injury for a month from trying to paint this. But this actually is original. And so you'll see two heads at each end. And in Roman numerals is the year the house was built. It kind of has those Roman numerals to kind of link into when the house was built, those years. And I love that. You could just paint over it. You could save your arm and not try to go around with a tiny little paintbrush. I didn't want to do that. Eventually I will hire professionals to kind of come in and redo it. In fact, I was talking to an artist friend of mine There's two prominent gay figures here in the city, Harvey Milk. I'm sure many of you have heard of Harvey Milk, and I'll tell you many stories as we go through the house. And Heklina, who was an incredible drag queen. They would often come in this house. They would come for parties, they would come for political talks. Heklina filmed the Golden Girls, but the drag version, not the real version, in this house too. And so at one stage I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool to kind of get Harvey's face, Heklina's face here, to really connect into the gay history, because this home has a lot of LGBTQ plus history in it, and I'll tell you more about that as we kind of go through. You'll see here kind of the original light fixture on this beautiful post. I love this post. This also has pieces. You can kind of see it sort of moves around. This is gas. Now it's no longer connected because you could smell the gas when you walked into the house. So we'll get it restored, we'll get it electrified. Maybe go for a grander one. I'm not sure yet. You know, whilst I said that, you know, it's important to preserve history, it's important to bring antiques in, not everything's going to work. So if it doesn't work, don't feel hard about yourself for taking it out, but make sure it goes to a good home. Don't throw it in the trash can. You know, one thing that I really love about this staircase is its curve. That sort of, you can kind of see it in the stair here as it accentuates round. You know, I think that's beautiful, not just to have kind of that staircase that goes straight down. That's what I love about Victorians, that's what I love about old homes, mid-century, Art Deco. I think that's craftsman, to name a few, those different elements where they really thought about conversation moments or moments just to kind of give you a point of interest. And I do love that, and kind of the intricate nature of this wood. Now, I was never a traditionally dark wood fan. I found it really hard, and this house has taught me a lot of things. I'll tell you, it's shown me a lot of things that I didn't love, that I now love, that I put in many other places. And so it's given me a lot of life, which is nice. I will point out the flaws because we refinished these, not me. I did think I was going to do it, and then just didn't work out for me. I just can't do it. But originally when you walk in, and you'll see this in the part of the house that we haven't restored, because I want to show you originally what it would have looked like. This was carpet, really thick carpet, incredibly floral, you'll see that. It was just a bit much, so we pulled that up, and these are the floorboards that existed. So fascinating. These floorboards haven't seen the light of day in 130 years, and just look at them. I mean, I think they're absolutely stunning. You can see where people have heavenly walked up the stairs, you know, where many people over sort of the last century would have stepped. You can see those prints. Upstairs, you'll see where they would have put their oil lamp because there's loads of oil splatters. I love that. I think it's a real connection to the past and a real reminder of sort of the home's history, which I think is beautiful. Also scares me that people used oil lamps, but anyways, we're going to go with it. They needed light, so let's do this. Here I won't take you all the way back, but you can kind of see the length of this hallway. More Murano, a beautiful Murano mirror at the back that you can see. I love the pink. I'm a pink person. And so just having that beautiful kind of element. I'm also told that it's feng shui. Someone correct me if it is, but I'm told it's feng shui to have a mirror that kind of reflects the door. I'm probably talking complete rubbish. My mum tells me I often do, but we're going to go with it unless somebody corrects me. I'm calling it, it's feng shui. And so we have this nice little seating bench, so you can come in, and you know, this hallway's built around function. You know, it's got to be a place where you can come in easily, check yourself before you leave, because that's important before you see the day of life, and take off your shoes and kind of then go into other elements of the house. So let's go on upstairs. Now I will tell you, these stairs, I think there's 26 steps, remember 13 feet ceilings, so it's not unusual for me to get to the middle and then sit down and take a break. My English bulldog, he probably gets to a quarter, lays down, catches his breath, and then keeps going. For you all though, I'm going to make it in one go. So let's go, we'll go upstairs. So you'll see here, I mean, this really was one of the main elements of the house and why I kind of bought it. I mean, just look at this craftsmanship of this staircase. You know, all of these different spindles, it's just so delicate. Now, actually, new code, we would have to build this higher if we were to ever take it out for safety reasons, which is obviously important. We don't have kids. We don't often have kids here. And I just could never forgive myself if I even touched it because it's just so stunning. So keep coming up. Actually, the previous owner was elderly and he had a stair lift or one of those chairs. I asked him to leave it in because I think it would have been very beneficial for my life. He did not. Now I'm hoping as soon as you come up, you see this beautiful skylight because this was absolutely one of the reasons I fell in love with this house. I mean, look at it. They just don't make things like this anymore. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's absolutely stunning. The curves, the light, the stained glass. Actually, it's just a skylight, which is crazy to me. I always thought the glass was inset, but it's one big skylight that kind of comes in. But you'll see why I have so many curves in this home is this really was the foundation of the design. I love how much light comes into it. I find it just so inspiring to come out here in the morning and see this. My partner thinks I'm crazy. Often I just stand here and stare at it. Whatever, we all have our own kinks. But I love it. I think it's absolutely stunning. Once again, you'll see kind of these details that you just don't see in new builds. Sort of these curved little pieces here. I imagine it's been used for many things over the years. Telephone, maybe, if you want to sit here and speak to someone. I actually took this piece. It's another Murano piece. I sound like a broken record, but I really love Murano. And actually, I'll tell you something. Murano, which is a little island off of Venice, it's got so much more expensive to produce glass there because of gas. And so any piece that's Murano, I feel like I have this mission to save it, preserve it. And they're stunning. I mean, look at this detail in here. You can see there's three sort of mouth figures holding this gorgeous one hand-blown piece of glass. It's by Seguso, Artemide. And I think it's beautiful and it really kind of leans into the height of this sort of architectural detail. Beautiful orchid in here. I put that in there. I water it once a week. Ice cubes. Ice cubes are your best friends with orchids. 2 ice cubes, pop them in, you're gonna be good. More little mirrors here. I kind of like this element of these different mirrors kind of greeting you as you walk straight into sort of the hallway. I love this curve of the hallway. I think it's so beautiful. So now we're going to walk through to the primary bedroom. Before we do that though, you'll kind of see more antiques. This was my partner Zach's great-grandmother's once again. It's a beautiful old sort of dining table that sort of flaps out like this. I want to keep things from the past. I want to keep things from memories of our family. And so that was really important for me to kind of have in this space. It's just a cute little table that you can pop things on. I love little boxes. I love delicate lights, and so you can kind of see that here. This painting I love, actually it's from Mexico. I got it from a little town. It's called The American Dream. You know, it sort of talks to the realities of the American dream, the guts it takes, the resilience it takes, the sheer determination. And I'm sure many people remember this iconic image. I think it was when they were building the Empire State Building, maybe not, correct me. But I'm not from here, I'm from the UK, so I'm not too clued up on the history. But I do love this idea of this sort of guy sort of falling. I don't love the idea of a guy falling, but it talks to that sheer determination, that resilience that it takes to truly achieve that American dream. And I just love that moment. I look at it every day and I think, yeah, I'm gonna go get the day. It's important for me. So coming through here, I've got my little guy here who greets me every time I walk down the stairs. This is an old painting that's had, you can't see it, Mickey Mouse ears put on him. I love the fun nature of that. I don't know what it is. I think it's really cool. And I love the idea of having a picture here. Not many people would, but I think it's great when you walk down, there's these different things that catch your eye, and I think that's really important. One of my favorite mirrors in the house, it's Art Deco, it's English, fully restored, and I just love the color that it provides. I mean, look at that shade of blue. It's just so divine and beautiful, and it's big enough that when you walk out of the bedroom in the morning, ready to get to work, you can really check out your outfit, make sure you got it all together before you head into work and to start your day. But a really beautiful piece. I can't remember how old it is, but you'll see kind of the flowers in here. This is actually a thistle, which is the national flower of Scotland. I think I'm telling you loads of facts like on Wikipedia, and I probably am not making sense. I'm probably saying the wrong thing, so correct me. But I do love all these elements of flowers. You know, as I shared, I'm really inspired by nature. It's in my name, Monsieur Bloom. And so having sort of any element, any nod to a flower is really important. And can you imagine how hard it was to kind of replicate this and create this piece? And I absolutely adore it. Okay, one final thing before you go in. This is my favorite feature of the house. It's my partner's least favorite. This little speaker system connects to the kitchen. So every morning when I come out, I have to have coffee. Everyone's going to call me a brat. I have to have coffee before I leave my bedroom. So I simply just speak into this. It goes to the kitchen. Fingers crossed he's in there. He can hear my demands. And that will stay. He wants this to go. It can't go. It's got to stay. And I think that's so cool that they had these pieces back in the day. So that's not going anywhere. Nor is my bell. I have a bell in the bedroom. That's got to stay. It's important. Now come into my bedroom. This is my first room that I fully designed in this house. I wanted it to feel peaceful, serene. And so the first thing I really want to sort of drive your attention to is the wallpaper in this little alcove. It's my absolute dream to be able to really sort of stay in here. You know, when we first came and toured this house, this was covered, don't feel grossed out, covered head to toe in nicotine. Because back in the day, what this room would have been used for is a cigar lounge. So imagine sort of, I'm sure folks have seen The Gilded Age, Bridgerton, I'm a fan too. You know, back in the day, kind of the social norms where the men after dinner would get together. And this would have been the space they did it. So they would have come in here, they would have played poker, card games, smoked cigars. They're probably turning in their graves because I sit here and I watch reality TV with a glass of champagne, but hey, times have moved on, things have changed. So it was covered head to toe in nicotine. I said to my partner, this has to be our bedroom. Let's completely transform it. And I'm really proud of where it's got to. And I think actually that's one thing you should always do, take a step back and feel pride, because it's not easy when you're in design. It's really hard work. As anyone approaches a home renovation, painting a room, a lot goes into it. So I really do take a step back in these moments and think, yeah, I love this room. Once again, this wallpaper is from Bellart Studios, which is the Swedish-based company I mentioned. It's that nature element. It helps me feel transported. I knew when we came into this room that we had to maintain this little niche here for the bed. I love it. At first I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll put a screen here or a curtain. So you really feel like you're detaching, but I'm too much of a TV and bed fan. I'm one of those people, so I had to not do that, but I really love kind of what it does. You'll see the chandelier here is from Fortuny. Actually, these came with the house. So they were originally downstairs in the living room. They're silk. They're sort of just, I love it. I think they're so delicate, these little tassels that sort of hang down. And you know, when they were in the living room, they were too small for the space, not enough light. And I thought, let's move them to the bedroom. And I'm really happy that we did, because they are just beautiful, circus-like in some senses. It helps the room feel playful. So if you come on through here, sort of this is where we spend much of our days, our nights, our mornings in bed. It's where I drink coffee. It's my dog's favorite place. He can just be high enough to see out the window and bark at every dog that goes by. So it's his favorite spot in the home. But I love this little alcove. I love these design within reach marble nightstands. They have that curve kind of on the edges here, that marble's replicated into it. You kind of see that, you know, these are mid-century. The lights are mid-century too. They're from Lawson Fenning, or at least mid-century style. And this is really the epitome of my design, which is really blending those sorts of eras and bringing it in. Okay, you want to see the coolest feature? Maybe not the coolest piece, but this is a reclining sofa, which I never thought I'd get, because I thought I'm not in my 60s yet, so I can't have one. But, you know, it's kind of cute. It's also a place that we sort of come to, and you can just, all the remotes are hidden, you pop it up, it comes through slowly. And so Zach, my partner, and I, we sort of sit here, we watch movies, we chill out, we laugh, we play Uno card games. It's our private space. And often you don't have the luxury of having a living space in your bedroom. So I really wanted to optimize it to the best of my ability. And This I love this little sofa. And so it's from Four Hands, if anyone knows that brand. You can get them on Perigold, things like that. It really wasn't expensive, but it's comfy, it's durable, and I absolutely adore it. My friends are going to laugh at me for this because they tell me I talk about it too much, but I do. I think it's great. Another thing, and I mentioned downstairs that I love style with function. This is an example of it. This coffee table is from Jonathan Adler. Once again, adds that pop of color, that orange. It's unusual to kind of see that in here, but it's also a breakfast tray. So you just lift it up. You can take it to the bed. We can take it downstairs, put toast, coffee, things like that on it. Goes right back there and kind of sits there. And that's actually how a lot of Victorians would have lived back in the day too. You know, they would have had these tables. You can find a lot of antique versions of them. Pop them on there and then you have your coffee, your tea, your biscuits, your cakes, whatever you need. And so I love that. I love the orange. I think it really warms up the space, which is important. And yeah, I love it. So this was my best find ever, this chair. And so this chair actually is very old. It's around about 220 years old. It's bone inlaid. It would have been, it fully collapses. So you can imagine kind of, these were used a lot in India for traveling, and Italy and different places like that. And so it no longer does this, but the back comes off and then it folds down to one chair. So it's almost like an antique version of our picnic chairs that we take to the park. Just a lot more ornate. I think they really did things big back in the years, but I love it. It's so delicate, it's so intricate. The patterns of the different bone inlay in here, the legs, I think it's just so stunning. And you can see this figurine here. The brass has fallen off. I'm gonna get that restored, I promise. But I think it's such a moment. And I get ready a lot in here, in this room, with my friends and things like that. And so we'll sit here, we'll drink, we'll laugh, and I think it's really stately. And I have this little reindeer skin as a sort of warm piece. I got that from Iceland many years ago, 15 years ago. But it's come with me in every home. It's been on sofas, and now it's on this beautiful antique chair, which I really love. So another piece I'll show you is this fireplace. Very different from the rest of the fireplaces in the home. As I said, this was a cigar lounge, and so this is where you can kind of see it nodding to that. I love this fireplace, actually. I love a fireplace that has that built-in mirror. That's really important to me, and so I think it's stunning. I love those green tiles. I love when you can incorporate color in the most simplest forms. And so this piece, it's just so stunning. These are the things that we would never dare touch. We would build our home around them versus tear them out. Not that I judge anyone doing that, by the way. Like, your home is your home. But for us personally, we just love it. We love the idea of it. We love the stories that it tells. Actually, one of the things that I'll share is, I mentioned Harvey Milk earlier, and you know, during the time when they were really fighting for gay rights, during the time of the AIDS crisis, Harvey Milk would come to this room. It still, over the years, was used as a meeting space. And he would talk with the former owners, because they were huge in kind of the political scene here in San Francisco, about how do we move kind of gay rights forward. And to be able to exist in a space that made my life so much better and gave me so many more rights is just such an honor. I'm getting a little bit emotional about it, but you know, it's such an honor to be able to exist in a space and, you know, redo a space that holds so many stories that are so close to my heart. And so that's just one story I'll tell. Okay, let's move on before I start crying. I'm a crier, Mum, I told you this. So this is actually a Jake Arnold cabinet. I really love his collection with Crate and Barrel. It's actually our TV cabinet. It's a bit of a mess, don't judge me. Hey, we all have one cupboard, we're allowed. And so you can kind of see it holds everything. I mentioned downstairs, I hate clutter. And so to be able to kind of build this into sort of a TV cabinet, I've got a coffee machine in here, so I never have to go too far. Because you don't want to see me with that one cup of coffee. It's not good. I got a mini fridge, the most basic Amazon mini fridge, but hey, I love Spindrift. And so it's cool, you know, when we're watching things, we just sort of recline, open this up, watch our movies, and I really love it. Really easy to do too. You can actually find a lot of antique cabinets that can hold a TV. And so if you're like me, that doesn't always like TVs being on display, you can kind of take this little niche. So like downstairs, you'll see over here, we have another bay window, which I love. I love to sit here and read. This is a lazy man chair. It's shearling, it's mid-century, but I love how it hugs your body. That's kind of why it's called the lazy man, is you can lay in here and truly be lazy, which I am. You know, it's hard to leave this room in the morning when you have so many different spots. I work from here quite often. Just sitting in here, the sun kind of pours in. These curtains actually are from 2 pages, but the curtain tracks I got from Amazon, and they are operable. So you can kind of see the height of the ceiling. I'll get the remote for you so you can kind of see. But you can see the heights of the ceilings. It can be hard to kind of pull some of those curtains closed and forward. If I can find, here we go. And so these all sort of open and are fully done. So you can do that, close it, or you can close these different ones. Anyways, you can see I'm a professional with these remotes, but they all kind of go like this, and these are fully blackout. And really easy to do in your home. Amazon, just buy them. These are 2 tracks. They open up. It makes it easy when you're in bed in the morning and you just don't want to get up. I really sound lazy. It's terrible. I promise I'm not, Mum. And so it kind of opens up, and it's really quite pretty. So final thing I want to show you in this room is 2 things. One, I said downstairs I love those tables that are an extension of the architecture. This is another beautiful one I got from an antique store here in the city, Garden Court SF. It's a beautiful French table with a ton of detailing in the wood, original marble. I just love that element that it adds to this. And of course a Murano mirror, because you know I'm obsessed. Actually, this mirror I got from eBay, and I thought I found a steal. It was $200, which is crazy, but it was in Arizona. And so I thought, well, UPS can pack and ship. Let me use UPS. They packed, they shipped, it came in 400 different pieces. And so I carefully restored every element of this. I called every supplier in Italy to get these little bars, these little nails. I got the glass remade, and it came out pretty well. I'm quite proud of myself, actually. And not too hard to do. So if you find a bargain on eBay, an old Murano mirror, and it has a few cracks in it, don't worry about it. These parts are easy to find. Etsy, Instagram, you'll find them, they'll do them, and you can put it back together and get yourself a really gorgeous mirror. So another thing I want to show you is the cowboy in my life. This is another Dean West piece. Since Beyonce kind of started changing the world, people started buying cowboy hats, I knew I needed one. And so I love this piece. Once again, Dean West does a really good job of making things look like paintings. This is a photograph, which is pretty impressive, to say the least. And I think it's just so stunning. You know, it's interesting because I sort of had this thing where I tried to cram all the most special pieces in my life into one room, the living room downstairs. And I've really learned over time to have these special moments for myself in my private space. And I just love this piece. It's grand, it's gorgeous. I'll never look like this man, nor will I ever be able to have the ability to pull the horse up like that, but one can dream, which is nice. Final thing before we leave is the floors. I do want to show you these because you can kind of see here. These, when we first bought the house, torn to pieces. So they'd been baked by the sun. They had cigarette butts in them, which is not so nice. I never thought we could restore them, and actually we brought a company in, they fully restored them, they sanded them down, and this came out. And actually the most surprising thing was this border. So you can kind of see here, this sort of detailing in the wood. I never knew that existed because the floors were in such a bad condition that when they sanded them down, it started to appear out of nowhere. And I think that's so beautiful. I'm so glad I brought those different elements back to life. And you don't necessarily see this in floors. I know I sound like a broken record, but you don't see these details in flooring. It just makes me think about the craftsmanship of those eras where they would think, yeah, I'm going to make my life 100 million times harder by putting this border in, but look what it does to the space. It's just absolutely stunning. So I love this element. These floors will never change. They have to stay. I think it's white oak, which is super, rare to be used back in the day. And then this element of the border detailing is really beautiful. So come on through. For those who maybe follow me on Instagram, you might remember the marble light switch. You can get them on Etsy. I love them. I just think it adds a different architectural detail to a home. Very expensive though, $45 for that plate. So it's in one room. I can't afford much more. So come on through, we're going back into the hallway here, and I'm going to take you to the part of the house that we haven't necessarily renovated yet. We have 2 rooms I'm going to show you back there, but you'll see that distinct separation, and you're going to step back in time ever so slightly as you can kind of come through this room. So you go through this little door, come on through here, and this is kind of the second hallway. I love that it has a skylight in here. I think that's one of the most beautiful elements. I love the use of skylights. I think folks should use them more often. Not too hard to install, and they drown a space in light, which is really important. So look at the carpet. This was everywhere in the house. You can kind of see here it's got, sort of different blemishes in it. It feels like, I don't know, an old hotel, an old glamorous hotel. The fact that this carpet has existed for 120 years is pretty impressive. Really thick, not too much damage to it, but maybe a bit too bold for me. And carpets with animals, it's a little bit hard. So one of the elements you can see here, and I mentioned it, is the second staircase. So this staircase connects directly to the kitchen. It would have been used by the staff of the house. I love it to be used because it's just easier to access and it causes no harm. I love the historical element of having this staircase still existing within the home. And so we'll be keeping this. In fact, you're not going to see the kitchen today because it's being renovated. But eventually, if you want to come back, you can. This staircase at the bottom will form part of the kitchen. So it will really curve into the kitchen, create that nod to the past, which I really love. Let's not hide things like that. I think they're really important to kind of show. So come on through, you'll see copious amounts of gas lights in this house. You've got this one here, serves no function, but I do love it. I think, it's that nod to the past, which is really important. So we got 2 final rooms. This is a room I just completed, which is a bathroom. And so we have 2 bathrooms in this house. And this was one that did not look like this before, but it had all the good bones. And so that's what I say in design, take a step back. You don't need to pull things out, rethink them, really think deeply about them. This paneling all existed. This light existed, different elements like that. It just takes some hard work, polish it up, change the color. But I love this little bathroom. It really wasn't one that we used before, in truth. And I wanted once again to bring that nature into this space. And so you'll see more Bellot Studio wallpaper. Actually, this was a collaboration with an interior designer called Nina Takesh. Really gorgeous. You don't often see wallpaper in a bathroom, and there's a reason for that, right? In a wet space, you don't necessarily want it. But with the height of the ceilings, I thought I'd get away with it because the water doesn't really condense up there, in truth. And it's almost like you're stepping into a garden. Is there a better place to bathe kind of in there? And so I wanted to pull some of the greens in the wallpaper onto the paneling. This is a beautiful shade of sage, really kind of adding that earthy nature, that relaxing nature that you want kind of in a bathroom. I am terrible at choosing paint colors. It's my biggest worry. I should go to therapy. If there's a therapy for paint color choosing, I need to go because it's the hardest thing in life. So when this kind of dried, I was like, okay, I did it right once, which is great. And I really love it. You can see the chevron floors, and this is the first introduction of new flooring in the house that we've done. The flooring we couldn't save, and it was modern white tile, so it had no connection or significance to the past of the house. And so I added this sort of wooden floor in. It is hardwood. Hardwood's not so great for bathrooms. You have to keep drying it if you get water on it to make sure it doesn't swell. But I love the earthy nature in it. I needed kind of that natural element, that organic element in the bathroom, which I really love. If you come on through, you'll start to see kind of how the bathroom evolves. You can see the clawfoot tub. This is a common thing that you're going to see in a lot of Victorian old homes, particularly in Europe. Very traditional. I love this one for one main reason, and it's the fact that it sort of curves up. So it hugs your back. So you can lay in here. I have the breeze from the window coming in, which is really nice. And for anyone who has a clawfoot tub and wondering how to make it into a shower, these are really genius. They connect to 2 sides of the wall. If it's not in an alcove, you can get bars that connect to the ceiling to hang it down. And it's a really nice way to sort of turn it into a shower without having to close it in with glass and things like that, which is really important. So safe to say I spent a lot of time in this bath. Every night, I'm a bather, and I love it. And this was just restored. So we repainted it, we cleaned it up, I repolished the feet, which was really important to me. This is new, this is modern, but I do love that it sort of has that sort of paneling, detailing, those curves. I wanted to replicate that from different parts in the house. Marble, I love marble. I told you this, I'm a marbleaholic. Let's coin that phrase. And so I love it. I think it's absolutely stunning. I love the old elements of the French taps. These two pieces here are original. This is a gas light. It serves no purpose. It's not a sconce. It doesn't turn on, but I just couldn't remove it. I think it's so cute. It moves around. I did repolish it. Actually, you can get some great copper cream, it's called, that takes off years of stain. This was black, and I just started rubbing it and it came out to this beautiful brass detailing with all these different bits and pieces. I have a fake tea light in it, an electric one, which offers no purpose but to make me feel more at peace. But I couldn't remove it. I think it's too stunning. So this I really couldn't pull out. Even though it's not centered with the sink, it's such a beautiful mirror. You can see kind of the floral detailing in it. That's engraved. It's got age from years, and I just love those detailing. And so it also is very functional. You know, it holds a lot. It's only ever so slightly off the ceiling, and I like to stand next to the window in the morning and get that kind of fresh air in. I do think one final thing that I'd say in here is shutters can be your best friend in a bathroom. You know, so often you see windows that are covered in a film to block folks from seeing in. I'll tell you that shutters aren't terribly expensive. You can find them online. And the nice thing is when you close them, you can, you know, either fully close so no one can see in. If you turn up, no one's going to see in, but you're still letting light into the room. And so for anyone who's thinking, oh gosh, I want some light in my bathroom, do try shutters because they're so functional. You can do that, you can open them fully. So when I'm in the bath, I have them open so that I let the light in and the breeze, and I really do like that. Okay, one final thing is just this light here. It's an old gas light, which we converted to electric. Once again, I couldn't convince myself to take it out, so I left it in, replaced the shades, polished it up, and I actually really like it. So I thought, why not? Let's just leave it in. Okay, final room that I'm going to show you, and it's been a joy to show you around my house. I've absolutely loved it, is my office. So come on in. A tiny little room, not big in the slightest. And I think this is really where style meets function. You've really got to lean into this space. The first thing I'm going to, and I know I said the Murano chandelier downstairs was my favorite. This came from the UK, so I'm a little bit biased, but I do love it. It's a Barovier chandelier. Look at that green glass. It really adds a pop of color into this small space. I always think the smallest room should have the most glamour. And so that's kind of what I did here with this chandelier. You can see kind of this beautiful glass with the sharp detailing on it. That green, those shades, I just think it's so glamorous. It helps me come in here and work. So I think my boss will thank me for buying this one, because otherwise I'd just be laying in the bedroom. So come on in and I'll show you some other elements. This is a beautiful 3D sculptural piece of art. It sort of depicts a tennis match. So you can see these figurines kind of coming out from the wall. It's mid-century. But, you know, I really love what it adds to this room, that 3D element, which I think is really beautiful. I have this gorgeous shearling couch, actually from CB2, and it's really pretty. My dog sits here when I'm working, and I can sit here, I open the window, I look at this beautiful redwood tree that you can see in the distance. Fun story on the redwood tree is the owners 60 years ago, I think, maybe more, they bought a little sapling from Muir Woods home from their trip, and they thought, let me plant it in the garden, see what happens. And this is what happens. You have a huge tree in the middle of the city, but I love it. We're going to cut some parts of it just to thin it out, make sure it's not too heavy, but what a great place to work when you're kind of looking at this. You'll see my second dog down here, which is an antique ottoman. It's by Abercrombie in Kent. They did a collaboration with Liberty, which is a department store in the UK. My dog at first was very wary of it. Now they're best friends. He actually licks its face. I genuinely think he thinks it's real. That's good with me though. It keeps him distracted. But it's just a nice little element. It's beautiful leather. I love the smell of it. It still has that antique leather smell, which I really love. And it's a great place to put my feet up, look out the window and feel inspired. So this is actually my desk. As I said, in small rooms, it's really where style meets function. And so this is an antique French banker's desk. You kind of pull the drawer out here, you pull these two little pieces, just like that, pull this down, and then you're ready to work. I pull my chair in over here, and kind of this is where I work, and I get to look outside. But, you know, in smaller rooms, I really encourage folks to consider these sorts of solutions because it's easier. Then you don't have this big desk, you have all this space, you can meditate, do whatever you need. And then the nice thing is when you're done with work, you just hide it all away. So then ultimately, this can become a space you read, you don't see your laptop and worry about Monday. It's all locked in here until you decide to work again. So I really love this piece. The other piece I'll tell you about is this beautiful men's vanity box. So this is antique. I love it. It's gorgeous. It's a little home, and it opens up. So you can kind of see here, fully opens up and kind of has all this storage. So you can see these little boxes. It's where sort of a man would have kept his cufflinks and all those different bits and pieces. It's got an old stopwatch up here that I've got to fix that kind of tells time, but so beautiful. I love the craftsmanship of this. I think it's a Japanese vanity box. And so this is just a cool little element. You've inspired me now. Leaving it open, I might leave it like that. It's a little bit more interesting, so I like it. I am old school. I do listen to records, particularly Nina Simone, Bob Marley, those different artists. I love having this Sonos turntable because it's connected to a Bluetooth speaker, so it's not bulky, it just sits there. There's something so relaxing about listening to vinyl records, or LPs is what my dad says. I call them vinyl, but he tells me off. And so this is just such a nice little piece to have in here. And you'll see all my record collection and different elements here. I kind of built in this beautiful, this was a wardrobe. I didn't want it to be a wardrobe anymore, so we bought this about 8 years ago, this mid-century dresser. I use it for a lot of storage. There's a lot of samples in there, fabric samples, wood samples, etc. And so it kind of adds just a really functional piece that I can still display my orchid, and then another beautiful lamp to this end. So that is my office. This is where I spend most of my life, sadly. Well, not sadly, I do love what I do, but you know, sometimes things could be worse. I love that office and the way that it looks. You know, home for me, it's not a house. It's a place where I make memories and I hold memories. You know, that's why I have so many antiques in my house, from my grandmother to my partner's grandmother to our grandfather. It's because they're as much a part of our home, even though they're not here. I want them to feel a part of it. I want to walk into a room and see that table that I would see behind my grandmother. That's home to me. It's the memories, it's the people that visit, it's everything that we want it to be. And so that's it.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Emma. Welcome to my home in Suffolk. Come in, come and have a look around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Emma Paton and I am a full-time content creator and mother as well, and I live here in a village in Suffolk. So we bought the house about 6 months before COVID kicked in, and so yeah, we got out of London. We used to live in Hackney, and we had our 2 kids there. And we decided to get out of London and move somewhere with some more space and less sort of city life, more country life, to bring our kids up. So the kids were 3 and 6 when we moved here. And we basically saw this house and fell in love with it. It was actually the only house we saw. It's a Georgian house at the front, and then it's 14th century at the back. and it needed quite a lot of work. So the windows and the electrics and the plumbing, lots of things that we kind of knew we had to do, but we didn't quite realise how big a scale it was. So yeah, we basically came to see the house and just completely fell in love with it. We got my parents' opinion on it because we have bought something in the past where we were a bit blindsided by the property, and it had loads of issues. But for this house, we were like, we'll get an opinion, and my parents were just like, it's amazing, but it's definitely a money pit. So we were kind of quite aware of like the amount of investment we'd have to put into it to make it the right home for us. But yeah, we're really pleased with the results, and it's been a bit of a labour of love, and definitely an ongoing project as well. When we bought the house, it had quite a lot of work done to it already, and there were a few rooms that definitely they'd kind of spent, you know, quite a bit of money on and working on the interiors, but it was definitely looking quite tired and dated. All the walls were yellow, and there had been fitted carpet everywhere, and that had all been pulled up. There were just wires hanging out the wall. The previous owners had pretty much taken everything from like doorknobs to toilet seats to the letterbox on the front door. So yeah, when we first moved in on that first day, it was quite a shock really, I guess, seeing the house looking quite stark and a little bit unloved really. So yeah, it was a very yellow house when we moved in, put it that way. Welcome to my giant hallway. This is just such an incredible space. It's a massive, massive hallway. And we completely fell in love with all the original features, which are the beams on the ceiling, and of course this sweeping staircase, which yeah, is just kind of sold the house to us really. And more recently we've put in because there's so much space in here, we've got room for a grand piano, which my husband got. He's actually a musician, so he plays this quite a lot. And we play it quite a lot at Christmas, which is fun as well. And then moving over here, this is a piece of artwork by an artist called Philippa Jeffrey, and I just love the colours. I think it really works well with the wall colours. And then this is a chaise longue that I got from a brocante, which is actually held in our village. They do it 4 times a year in their garden, and it's called a boulin. And I found this there, and I thought, again, green, it was perfect for our house, because green is one of my favourite colours, as you will see throughout the house. Another colour which you will see a lot is pink. This is a chandelier which kind of like pulls all the room together, and it's by Pure White Lines, and yeah, it's just the most beautiful kind of statement piece of lighting, which more recently we've just put in a round table in the middle as well. And yeah, it's kind of just all finally brought the room together really. I try not to fill the space with too much stuff. Actually, for a long time we didn't have the table or the rug or anything in here, and my daughter quite often was roller skating in this area, and we thought actually as a kind of young family it was quite nice to have all the space in here as a bit of a just, you know, having a bit of fun. And we thought we'd have parties and things in here as well. So yeah, I think kind of more recently when I have thought I'd like to bring some pieces in, I thought still keep it quite simple. This jute rug with the scalloped edge, I liked the kind of the roundness to it and the way it sort of gave a bit of a centre grounding to the room. So this big hallway, basically on that side we've got a dining room, and then on that side we've got a living room. But I kind of wanted to kind of have a connection between all 3 rooms. So I've kind of done that a little bit through colour as well. So for example, there's the pink of the light here, and then when you look through into that room, there's a little bit of pink in one of the artworks on the wall. But yeah, so I've kind of tried to stick with a kind of slightly round theme in here, and yeah, not go too crazy with filling it with too much stuff, so we can sort of parties and things in here. And it's fun at Christmas. We actually had our Christmas tree here this Christmas. So yeah, it's a great space for that as well, and having lots of people in it. I actually went out this morning and did some foraging, which I quite often do. So yeah, I found some really nice blossom, and then these amazing, it actually kind of looks quite autumnal, which obviously it's not autumn at the moment, but I just love these colours together, and I just thought as a bit of a centrepiece, this is the table to kind of go for it with a bit of like extravagant foraged blossom and branches. Quite often I'll have just more traditional flowers here, but I feel like this is like a nice focal point to have a bit of a statement going on as you come into the house. And again, just helps kind of bring everything all together. So originally when we moved in, the floor was very, very dark. It had a very dark kind of finished varnish on it. A couple of years ago, we actually got the floors sanded because we didn't like the darkness. We actually wanted to create more light in this space. So yes, we sanded the floors, and after he sanded it, he was like, oh, what varnish do you want, and how dark do you want to go? But actually we just really loved the kind of finish as it was. So he just put quite a clear varnish on it to keep it quite light and just quite natural, really. But yeah, this is the original flooring, and it's quite drafty and quite cold in here, to be honest. But yeah, we love it, and you'll see in some of the other rooms we've kind of gone for it with rugs and things to add a bit of warmth and texture to the floor. But yeah, we love the floor. It's nice, yeah, original feature. So when we moved into the house, there were definitely lots of moments of what have we done, and that we'd maybe taken on a little bit too much. We knew it was going to be a big project, but yeah, definitely the first 6 months we lived here, I actually think I pretty much cried most days. We've completely just overwhelmed. Obviously I was here with young kids as well, so it was kind of about getting into the community as well and getting set up and established with meeting people as much, so being in a new village as much as kind of sorting the house out as well. So yeah, the first 6 months was definitely the most challenging. Yeah, it was quite scary at a few points as well. I actually think within the first couple of days we had moved in, I think I quickly said to my husband, like, I don't think I can stay here. I think I'm just going to have to go and like be with my parents for a couple of nights, because it was just complete chaos, really. We had like plumbers in, we had electricians in, there was just chaos everywhere trying to like piece together how the house works. So yeah, it's definitely been some serious lows, but then some serious highs as well. We're going to head over into the living room now, so follow me. Okay, so here we are in the living room, and it's another big space that we had to tackle. Yeah, we painted it light blue in here, and actually one thing we did do is we painted the ceilings and the walls and the skirting and the radiators all the same colour, just to kind of really drench it and make it feel a little bit more modern, actually. And again, we've got the original floorboards in here, and then some of the features which I love are some of the rugs, which I think just help to bring a bit of colour into the room. So we've got a couple of vintage rugs in here, and they also add a bit of warmth as well, because it can get quite cold in here. We've got the log burner, which we installed. That is amazing in the winter time to make it really nice and cosy in here. You can actually, yeah, just shut the doors off and shut the doors off here and get it nice and cosy. But yeah, the kind of the L-shaped sofa, which we got from West Elm. Again, it took quite a long time to kind of find the right things, but we quite like the kind of slightly mid-century feel, but the fact that it was on quite a big scale worked really well in this space. And then the coffee table, that is also from the same guys actually where we got the chandelier from, called Pure White Lines. And it's got a slight kind of 70s feel to it, which, yeah, is one of the areas kind of like style-wise I think is quite fun with interiors. So we kind of, with the coffee table, and that led to sort of getting this arced, slightly retro lamp in here, which is probably quite unusual for like a Georgian house. But again, I think it's just quite nice to have a bit of fun with interiors, really. So yes, we've got the arc, and then we've kind of got some quite fun artwork. That is by David Shrigley. And it was a nice way to get some colour in here as well. So we went with quite a big round mirror above the fireplace. Again, I quite like the kind of way that reflects the hallway, the round table in there, the round mirror here. Pops of red, definitely. So the chair, which is a Soho home chair, that kind of unexpected red theory, they say. I think, red works really, really well in this kind of space. And we've got pops of red coming through on some of the pillows and some of the artwork, some of the candles. But yeah, I love this room. It's one of my favourite rooms actually to hang out in. Yeah, we've obviously got our television here, and then we've got a mid-century sideboard. Took me ages to source a really long sideboard basically, which I think I found on Vinteria in the end. And then the wall lights, they tie in with the chandelier in the hallway. They are by pure white lines, and yeah, I quite like that pop of pink against the blue walls as well. The beam, that was already like that. I don't know what has happened along the way, whether it was a beam that was then covered up with the kind of cornicing detail. But yeah, it's a really nice feature to the room. We did actually have a few issues in here with a bit of a leak in the fireplace over there. We actually had mushrooms growing in this room at one point. But yeah, it's a lovely feature to the room, and definitely, makes it feel like a really special space to kind of hang out in. Yes, so the flowers, I've actually got a friend that lives in the village, and she is a flower farmer, which is quite handy. So I got these from her basically. She's called the Wild Society. So yeah, I've put a lot of flowers throughout the house. I love having flowers in the house. I just think it makes the space really nice and complete and brings a bit more colour into the room. But yeah, these are some tulips that I got from her. So yeah, I didn't find those myself, but I got them from my friend. So this mirror is a bit of a statement mirror. You'll probably see throughout the house that I have a little bit of an obsession with wavy lines and scalped edges. You can see they're kind of like subtly everywhere. But yeah, I just saw this mirror, and it's from Anthropology. It's one of my favourite things. I shoot quite a lot of content in front of it. So it features quite heavily on my Instagram. But yeah, my lovely wooden wavy mirror. Come with me now, we're going to go and see the dining room on the other side. Okay, so we are in the dining room now, and again, amazing beams on the ceiling here. Such a beautiful original feature of this kind of the Georgian front to the house. And we've also got these original shutters which actually close, and we decided to go with some cafe curtains here because actually we are kind of on the street level and people can peer in basically. So yeah, we've just got a bit of a cafe curtain vibe going on over there. We kind of went quite dark with the walls, and then this kind of bright yellow. It's actually called Sudbury yellow, which is a Farrow and Ball colour, and Sudbury is in Suffolk. It's kind of like a Suffolk yellow. So this is the only remaining yellow that's in the house, because originally the previous owners, the whole house was pretty much yellow. So we embraced it a little bit here. Basically, this is a room that we kind of have Christmas in, and so we have our Christmas dinner in here, and we do dinner parties, which is, yeah, a really fun space to have it in. This was sold to me as a, which I didn't know, and then when I went to pay, the guy told me, it was actually apparently a cocaine table. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but it spins around, and there's actually like a little mirror here, and you can put wine in the bottom. We obviously use it as a little kind of cocktail cabinet, which is why I bought it. And this is from the Boulin, which is one of the local kind of vintage brocante places, but it's just a really fun piece, and it's got like little slidey doors and up here. So yeah, we're really into kind of making cocktails. So yeah, this is like our little cocktail making station here. I just wanted some kind of like fun pieces really. Actually, I've had this for a long time. It's just from Oliver Bonus, which is just a UK high street store. It's like a little velvet, again, quite retro feel, which we love. And then yeah, we've just got some disco mirror balls down here, which quite often I use as props actually in some of my content, especially around kind of Christmas time. But yeah, just kind of add a little bit of fun to the room. We've got a wood burner in here, and again, this room can get quite cold, so it's lovely in the winter to have that going. And then this was a print we had in our old house. It's called Lamella, and yeah, we had it in our old house and just loved it. It's just a really nice, big, bright, fun pop of colour, basically. I think it's just nice to have another kind of bright colour in here. It works quite well with the dark walls. And the lighting, we absolutely love the brand Soho Home. So we got these lights and actually the chandelier as well from them. And yeah, kind of again, that quite sort of fun, slightly 70s influence. The table is a vintage mid-century table. It extends, it's actually fully extended at the moment. It's from actually a local lady that sells vintage furniture called Modern Antiques. And then these chairs are actually just a copy of a very famous chair, and they're just bought from they're quite cheap from Dunelm because we ran out of money. Couldn't afford the real deal, so these have been brilliant actually. I think they work quite well in the space. And then we just got some little cosy sheepskin pads to sit on for when it's a bit colder in here in the winter for Christmas and things like that. So when we have like dinner parties, I've had last year I had a couple of girls' dinner parties in here which were quite fun. And normally the table is like full on singing and dancing. Like I'm really into tablescapes, so there's normally a tablecloth, lots and lots of candles, lots of flowers, lots of like fancy glasses, and then yeah, to be honest with the food, I try and keep it really, really simple, just something that can be bought out and put on the side and people can just serve themselves. So yeah, it's normally all about like kind of going a bit extravagant really, and having lots of fun and having cocktails and champagne and yeah, having music on and having a bit of party in here really. But yeah, it's a really fun space to hang out in and yeah, have friends and stuff over. So in the past I have worked as a buyer. I was actually a fashion buyer at Bowden for over 10 years. I've always loved fashion and studied fashion marketing and communication at university. So yeah, I was a buyer for a big chunk of my career. And then when I had my son, I actually set up a blog that was kind of based around kids' clothing, kids' gifts, finding things that I just wanted to share with people. And it was kind of just a bit of a sideline really that I thought maybe it was something I could build one day, and my husband was quite encouraging that maybe if we ever moved out of London, it'd be quite good to have something like a blog that you don't have to be commuting into London every day to do it. You can work from home and you can be a bit more flexible around the kids and family life. But yeah, it kind of went from there really, and then I started sharing outfits that I was wearing as a mum, and people were just really interested to see what I was wearing and finding out more about that. And then that's the way my blog and my Instagram kind of shifted to be a bit more about me and outfits and styling and ideas on how to wear clothes and where to find good wardrobe staples. So yeah, that kind of shifted after buying. I went into that, and then after I had my daughter, decided not to go back to the buying role that I was doing, and try and focus full-time basically on my blog and my Instagram and becoming a content creator. So yeah, and I just really loved it. It worked really well around family life. I could be flexible, so I could take time off in the holidays to be with my kids. And kind of over the years, probably when we renovated our house in London was when I realised I also was very keen on interiors. So yeah, I think when we renovated our home in London, which was another really big project, but on a much smaller scale compared to this, and we did the interiors there. Again, people were just, anything I was sharing about it on my blog and on my Instagram, people were really keen to see more. So yeah, it's not something I've studied really, the interior side of things. It's just something that I love. And then more recently, I've set up a home account for this house, which documented the renovation journey kind of that we went on. So yeah, it's kind of evolved into a bit of fashion interiors, probably a bit more in the last few years. We're going to go check out the rest of the house now. Okay, so this is the mini hallway, and really wanted to kind of go for it in here because it was quite a small space compared to the bigger rooms. I just love pattern and I love wallpaper, and just totally fell for this Print Sisters archive paper, just kind of mixing kind of traditional print really with kind of a bit more modern colour. So yeah, we kind of went for it and mixed it with the dark green paint. And yeah, fun little wavy mirror on the wall, and it kind of then leads into our downstairs toilet. Again, just wanted to have a bit of fun with this downstairs loo, and we actually picked one of the colours kind of from the wallpaper to kind of like lead into here. And we have a bright orange bathroom basically. This is one area we've not really done anything, changed anything with the flooring. So we just painted over the tiles with tile paint. And this amazing sink, which was already here actually, with the little kind of shell detail on the side. So this is just a hand towel from Anthropology. I just like the colours. I think the colours work really well with the space. And then the mirror, that's also from Anthropology. Again, as you can see, another little wavy scalloped edge. And I like the kind of the blue contrasting with the bright orange. And then we kind of just went with dark skirting as well, and then a little bit of artwork on the walls as well. So we are in the kitchen now, and as you can see, it's very light and bright. This is the extension that we did a couple of years ago, and yeah, so this bit is all new, and the flooring is the oak parquet, which continues through from the snug room. And we had a kitchen designed and made for us. And as you can see, gone for green and pink is a little bit of a theme in here. The worktops are actually Carrara marble, which we sourced, which is the most beautiful worktop, but I must confess, it does stain and it does scratch, but we're kind of like learning to embrace those like imperfections that it brings. But yeah, the island is a really big island, and we've got our hob on the island here, and it's actually got an air vent built into it. So we didn't have to have an extractor fan above it. So it's almost like the extractor fan is in it and sucks everything down, which is a really nice feature. Yeah, we've got a little area here we can keep cookbooks and things. Yeah, we've got our fridge over here, big fridge freezer. And then, yeah, pantry cupboard in here. We decided not to have kind of cabinets above. I'll show you in a minute the pantry cupboards we had built. But yeah, we were really keen to have a little shelf built, which was actually an absolute pain to create, but they managed to do it in the end, because we really like the idea of sort of using it as a bit of a display area for little bits of artwork and flowers, and then little bits from the pantry as well, which we brought through. So yeah, it's just quite a nice way, and actually quite often we move things around and it just makes it quite flexible to switch up artwork and colours and things like that. But it's a really, really great space to cook in. Me and my husband both love cooking. I tend to cook most during the week, and then my husband likes to cook quite a lot at the weekend, and we're trying to encourage the kids definitely to cook a bit more with us. So it's a well used and well loved kitchen. And I think that moving to this village as well, we don't have Deliveroo or anything like that on our doorstep, so we have to do a lot more cooking here. But we both love cooking, but we're just quite time poor. So when we do cook, it's just great to do it. But I'd say both of us probably cook similar amount. So one of the things I love washing up in this spot is there's a really amazing view out to the village square. It's actually like a little walled garden area, but you can see the clock tower in the village that goes off on the hour every hour. But yeah, it's a really nice view out basically when you're doing the washing up. Makes it a little bit more enjoyable. I would say the room that I'm most pleased with was probably the kitchen, because I think as a mum and as a family we spend so much time in there, and the kitchen previously was it was kind of in the middle of the house. It was quite small and quite dark, not really somewhere we wanted to spend lots of time, and one of the reasons we wanted to move out to the country, the countryside, was because we wanted to be like around all the greenery and see our garden. So for us, it was a massive shift to move our kitchen and create an extension that connected the garden, basically. So we spend so much time in our kitchen, and I would definitely say that naturally I love that kind of Scandinavian style, and I feel like in our kitchen that's definitely feels very me in there. And yeah, we love spending time in there. It's really nice and light and bright, and it's great. It's fun in there, and then it's nice to come into the more traditional part of the house as well, with the big rooms and the beams and everything as well. But yeah, probably the kitchen. So we worked with a local architect, and we were really keen to have a kind of big storage space. So he came up with this design, which is sort of built into the old part of the house. So yeah, we've got these nice big cupboards which kind of hide everything away, and they've just got this nice reeded glass, so you can kind of get a little peek in to see what's in there. And it's just got masses and masses of storage in there. We've got drawers in that one, cookbooks. They're a bit of a mess at the moment, but yeah, cookbooks, things for the dog, everything gets kind of hidden away. So those have been absolutely brilliant. And then over here we have got our dining table. Quite often I'll just chuck a tablecloth down, and yeah, it's just like that underneath. It's kind of like a bit of a mid-century feel to the table. And then these chairs here we splurged on and got the original Hans Wegner chairs, which we absolutely love. They're called the wishbone chairs. And then we just got these little padded seat cushions. This is from a local company called Farrow Home, which are really nice. And yeah, we've got a bench along that side, and chairs along this way, and this is where we have most of our meals, basically. And it's got the most beautiful view out to the garden, which we've got in this big picture window we created, and it's just a really lovely space to sit and enjoy our meals and look out on the garden. Over here in this corner, this is a bit of like an ongoing project, really. I'm still trying to find the right thing. I was quite keen to have like a little sofa, maybe like a vintage sofa, or a couple of 2 chairs in here. So this was actually a hand-me-down chair from my sister, but actually it's been great. And again, it's another popular spot for my dog to sit. But yeah, this is just a really nice little kind of chill out area. So the kids often sit here, or sometimes I'll sit there if my husband's cooking and to read a magazine. And just actually quite often I will just sit there when I have to edit content on my phone, and it feels really nice to still kind of feel connected to the garden, and it's nice and light and bright. But yeah, it's a nice cozy corner in our kitchen. So with the decoration of the house, one of the first things we did actually was start decorating with paint, because obviously paint is a great way to instantly change your home and make it feel a bit more you. So we kind of worked from the top down, and obviously then we did some work towards the end of that, and then 2 Christmases ago I think we finished the downstairs and did the final decorating. So the house very much went from being yellow when we moved in to being lots of different colours. So we've used lots of blues, lots of greens, lots of pinks, and then some colour pops as well, just to make the house a bit more kind of our style, really. We really like colour, and the house definitely has moved away from being very traditional. It doesn't really have many antiques. I like to mix old and new in the house, but it definitely took quite a long time to find the right things to work in the spaces. So we went from a Victorian terrace house in London and we had quite a lot of mid-century furniture, and a lot of that, when we put it in, was quite small, and the rooms just sort of swallowed it up, really. So it's taken a bit of time to find the right things, like finding a big sofa, and then sourcing things from vintage markets and brocantes, as well as getting some more modern things for our kitchen, for example, as well, because there's definitely a mix of old and new in the house, which we absolutely love. We love all the character that the house naturally has. So yeah, it's definitely a much more colourful, fun family home now, I would say. Okay, we're going to go out to the garden now. Okay, so this is the garden. We've got the lawn on this side, and then we've created like a huge patio space because like eating outside, sitting outside, being outside is really, really important to us. So we created this area so we could have a nice big dining table here. Our barbecue's over there as well. And then on this side over here, we have got our outdoor sofa. So yeah, we kind of love just hanging out here as much as we can in the spring and in the summer, having barbecues. We've had a couple of parties out here as well. But the slabs we put down are limestone pavers, and I really love the kind of just the colour of them, really. I think it just works really well in this space. We've planted up and landscaped quite a lot of the garden. Up at the top there is the barn. So the barn is actually where my husband works. We converted that as well. So it's got a music studio in it, and it's also got like a little living area and a kitchen. But yeah, we really love this space. We've got a fire pit there, sometimes we have going, and the dog obviously loves it out here, and the kids running around. We've got a big magnolia tree in the middle, and at the top of our garden we've got a pond actually as well. So yeah, it's just a really nice space that kind of just connects in with the newer part of the building, which has been clad in larch, silver larch, and yeah, kind of mixing old and new. If you look back on the house as well, you'll see the clock tower in the distance there as well. So with the planting, it's still quite early in the season still for quite a lot of things, but we've got hydrangeas. So we have a lovely big, I think they're called Annabelle hydrangea, which I think they'll be coming out in, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks' time, but they're lovely kind of little big pops of kind of creamy white that we've planted. And then we have a mixture of like kind of quite soft grasses, and then we kind of mix it back with some more formal kind of hedging just to give a bit of structure to the garden. And yeah, there's quite a few flowers to bring nice pops of colour, and at the top there we've actually got some wisteria, which was here already actually, and that's actually flowering at the moment, which is really pretty. But yeah, it looks quite green at the moment, but eventually it will be a bit fuller and a bit more colourful with the flowers. I would say my favourite thing about this house would be Christmas. It's just, I think when we looked around it, we just knew that it was going to be a really great space to kind of get all our families together and spend Christmas together here. I think just the proportions of the room and the kind of the romance of Christmas, I really feel like this house encapsulates that really well. So yeah, I think that's probably one of my favourite things is, I mean, there's lots of things, but yeah, probably having Christmas here has been amazing, and hosting that, as stressful as that can be. I think everybody that has come at Christmas the last few years has really appreciated the space and yeah, how beautiful the house can become just simply with a tree and some decorations of them on the mantles and things like that. So that's definitely given me a lot of joy. Okay, let's head back inside now. Okay, we're going to go upstairs now. I'm going to show you some of the bedrooms. Okay, so this is the master bedroom, and more beams, really, really high ceiling height in here. It's a bit of a wow kind of factor space. The room is huge, and again was quite overwhelming trying to work out what to do with the space. One of the things that kind of came to mind was that actually a four-poster bed would work really well in here. So we've got this four-poster super king-size bed, and it doesn't actually look that big in here because the room's so big. So it's a really great bed, and this is a quilt that my mum actually made for me. She's the most amazing quilter. So this is like, yeah, one of my favourite pieces ever that I will keep forever and hand down, a bit of an heirloom piece. And then the bedside tables, they're vintage rattan tables, which I sourced. And again, I tried to pick something that was quite big for the space and had some storage in it. So yeah, really pleased with those. The lampshades are actually hand painted by a friend called Katie Bell. So we've got bedside lamps either side. There is a huge fireplace that we don't use, kind of takes up quite a lot of the room. And then, yeah, more recently over here we had actually the guys that made our kitchen, they made this sort of custom dresser table for us and some storage. So I kind of use this as a little dressing table. Stripes. I got these from Homeworthy, and they are like quite a heavy wool, so quite good for this room because it gets quite cold in here. It gets quite drafty. And then over this side, we had these wardrobes custom built. Again, these are the guys that made our kitchen, made these for us. For a long time in here, I just literally had rails for clothes. We didn't really know what we were going to do. And then we sort of came up with this, because this slightly dead space in the room would be perfect to build some storage in here. So yeah, these are great. And I don't know if you can see along the bottom how wonky the floors are basically in here. So underneath this carpet is the original flooring, and it was in a really, really, really bad state. And we just decided that it was going to just cost too much really to get it all fixed and sorted. So we've actually, we've boarded over it and put carpet down. So it is underneath there, maybe one day for somebody else to have the joy of dealing with, but it is very, very wonky in here. And there's lots of, yeah, kind of ups and downs and creaky floors underneath. But yeah, we're really pleased with the storage that we've got in here. Really nice to have proper grown-up wardrobes. I'm going to show you a couple of things in my wardrobe. I have to confess, I do have another area with more stuff, but this is kind of like my day-to-day stuff. I actually rent out quite a lot of my wardrobe, and I'm just going to show you, these are two things that have been really popular for people to rent. It's a Ganni dress and then a Cézanne little sequin dress. But yeah, I tend to keep my dresses in this side, and then I've got a little drawer down here for accessories. My husband does actually have a little bit of space down that end. And then in here I've got accessories, and then drawers with like knitwear and things in it. So lots of clothes. Because the ceilings were so high, we kind of felt like we wanted some kind of statement lighting, because it's, again, a big space that can cope with it. These are from Anthropology, and yeah, kind of quite fun, tassel-y lightings that we just thought, yeah, brought a bit of fun to the room, really. So yeah, we've got one there and one here, and then we've just got lamps elsewhere. So we decided to keep this space quite neutral because of the beams. There's quite a lot going on. It was already quite busy. So yeah, we just decided to actually keep it very calm and very neutral. I think I can't even remember what the colour is on the walls. It might just be a very, very pale kind of like grey-white. But yeah, it's just quite a nice calm space really. And I think at one point we were talking about whitewashing the beams, but we decided not to, so it was too big a job. But yeah, I've decided not to go too crazy of colour in here and just have the colours from the quilt and the lamps and everything and the rugs to, yeah, kind of give that colour pop to the room. Probably tips for finding your own sort of style or sense of style. I would definitely say think probably about your favourite outfit you wear, or maybe like an outfit that you wear that you've, I don't know, had compliments on, and think about what it is, the elements within that you like, whether it's the colour or maybe it's a shape or maybe it's dresses, and maybe think a bit more about what you can kind of get out of that. So yeah, I mean, for me, probably in the last 5 years, I've just really discovered that dresses are just a really important part of my style. I think maybe becoming a mum, it was a very easy thing just to throw on and feel a bit more pulled together. And then colour as well, I think is really important. I know people are can be quite scared of colour, but again, it's just finding the right colour that works for you. And yeah, just being brave and kind of going for it really. But yeah, I'd probably say my main tip would just be, kind of think about what you've already got that you love, and you can always go on places like Pinterest, which I think is amazing for loads of ideas for outfits and style, and even create like a little like mood board of the things you love, and then keep that in mind, when you're going shopping, and start to develop your own style that way. So this is our guest bedroom, and we have gone with a kind of, I think it's French grey colour on the walls in here. So fairly neutral, and then we've got a pink stripe blind. These are Tory Murphy again. And the headboard, which I actually did myself recently, just to tie in the bigger stripe and the little stripe, kind of went for it a little bit in here. The bedside tables are vintage ones that have been painted in yellow, and the lights they're like a Liberty print fabric. These are from Pookie, and these are vintage prints that used to be my granddad's. Kind of gone for it a bit in here with the kind of colours and textiles. This is an African print throw that used to be my mum's. Yeah, it's just a really fun space. Guests really love staying in here. We've gone with cafe curtains, linen cafe curtains on the windows for a bit of privacy. But there's, really nice light in here. And the ceilings are a bit lower in here as well, so it kind of has a slightly cosy element too. So this is the guest ensuite. It's a pretty big bathroom actually for a guest ensuite. But we went for it with the colour. This is pink. Faramball pink, and there's some more pink stripes. It has a roll top bath, and this was actually here already. But the roll top bath, which is a bit of an amazing statement piece, as well as the marble sink as well, which I absolutely love. I wish this was in our bathroom, but the guests get to enjoy this, and it's just a really, really fun bathroom. We put these wall lights in from original BTC. And then the toilet as well, that was already here, but a bit more of a traditional toilet, which is guests always find quite fun as well. And then there's a nice view out over the garden as well. So the word home means to me is probably family. So definitely a place where we can all feel comfortable and really happy and create memories, really. I want my kids just to grow up and have some amazing memories of this huge mad house that we ended up buying. So I think that's probably what home means to me.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Matthew.
And I'm Ryan, and welcome to our home in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Come into the castle. Hello, I'm Matthew Trettel.
And I'm Ryan Hanson, and welcome to our home here in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Our home is referred to as the Pillsbury Castle. It was built by Alfred Pillsbury in 1903. He was the son of the co-founder of Pillsbury, the milling company, known probably best for the Doughboy. The house remained a family home until 1950 when Alfred passed, and then the home was willed to any living male Pillsbury heir, and for just a handful of years, 3 years, it remained a home, and then after that it was a commercial space for almost 50 years. Fortunately, the Previous homeowners bought the home in 2000, converted it back into a single-family home.
We had the opportunity to purchase this home in 2023 and make it a home for our future family. Our intention and our plan was we were going to be in this home for 30 years, take it room by room by ourselves over a long span of time while we raise kids in this house and slowly restore it. But the opportunity appeared right about the time we bought this house to partner up with ASID Minnesota, the Association of Interior Designers, and to collaborate together on a show house concept. And so in a remarkable 12-month time span, we were able to tackle this 12,000 square foot house by partnering up with 30 designers, one taking each room in a crazy collaborative adventure that we just wrapped up here in July.
Yeah, and now we have a fully furnished 12,000 square foot home that is ready for us to move into.
Yeah.
When we discovered the house, it's kind of a funny story. I had been eyeing this house for 8 years. It had been on Zillow and had been on the market and had gone unsold for a good part of a decade. Every time I was scrolling, every time it got served up to me, I looked at all 107 images. Every time I was obsessed and in love with this house. Fast forward to us deciding to have a little larger home, not certainly this large for our family, but I asked Ryan if he would consider obscenely large house and if he would consider something that was a period home. So I convinced him to come and take a tour. And we were kind of 3 steps in, and just what the house offers is unlike anything we've ever seen. The level of detail and exquisite woodwork, the formal layout, but then also the informal spaces are also really magical. What we really loved in kind of the process is seeing a house that was beautiful, but needed a lot of love, a lot of infrastructure. The house is 120 years old, so it needed updated electrical, it needed updated plumbing, kind of all the mechanical systems needed help. A lot of, fortunately, the main, more formal living spaces were in pretty good shape. It was mostly finishes that needed to be refreshed in kind of the main level of the house.
One of the challenges with this house was when it was originally built, it was built at a time period and for a class of people for whom this was sort of 2 homes, front of house and back of house. There was the family portion of the home, and there was the staff quarters of the home. And while some of that had been picked apart over time, we really set out with our architect to open the house up and make it a full house, to strip away the boundaries between front of house and back of house, and to make it sort of flow and function more as a family home on all 3 floors.
Because we're going to live in the whole house, in the way the Pillsburys only lived really primarily on the main floor and on the 2nd level. And so we imagine utilizing all the spaces, and so we've reclaimed a lot of what would have been kind of ancillary space in the house.
And one of the brilliant things of working with the designers was they really helped us think about how we elevate, particularly the 3rd floor, to bring coherence across all 3 floors. Because one of the things you notice 3 steps in, the 1st floor is immaculate. It's exceptional. It's where you would have entertained guests. The 2nd floor is pretty darn good because we lived there. The 3rd floor was kind of forgotten about and the basement was utilitarian. So that idea of how we could bring the 1st and 2nd floor elegance sort of up to the 3rd floor and reimagine the space in the basement to be oriented for a family in 2024 was a really cool transformation that got to happen. Really loved that. When you enter our home, we have this wonderfully warm white oak vestibule that has been restored and refinished. A little gilding on the ceiling, some brand new light fixtures, a wonderful little bench to put shoes on, and then our favorite piece, the designer of this space sampled the marbles from the 3 primary fireplaces in the house and reassembled those into this beautifully striped pattern on the floor, and it becomes the perfect welcome into our great hall and grand staircase.
The staircase is kind of the moment when you come into this space, and Ryan and I were 3 steps into the house. I looked at the staircase and turned to Ryan and said, we have to do this. The staircase itself, like the vestibule, is white oak. We've been told it took over a year to hand carve in place. What's especially interesting about the staircase, and these are little tidbits that we learned from the craftspeople as they were working on the refurbishment of the home as a whole, but the staircase is really special. There may be only one other in the world like it. It is a Fibonacci curve, and so it has a very tight radius, and what's fascinating is it's the same radius that's detailed. This is almost like looking at an overview of the staircase itself. We've been told that the only other one that at least the craftsperson that was working on the home knows of is actually at the Vatican. The level of detail that was put into the house was the thing that spoke to us and really called us into action. The house had been on the market for 8 years, and almost everybody was going to convert it back into commercial use. That was kind of the primary focus of anybody looking at the house. What was important for Ryan and I was to maintain it as a single family home. And one of the things that I envision is our kids teetering down these stairs, certainly for holidays, but every day. And yeah, so the staircase is a really, I think, iconic piece of the home itself. What was interesting, however, was that the staircase itself didn't have a chandelier. And so when we first were looking at the house, we're like, it needs this beautiful waterfall concept, and we worked with Hennepin Made, which is a glass blowing company, and they created a 2-story chandelier that's modern in feel, and I love the juxtaposition of the linear, kind of more modern look with the very linear grid of the 1903 quarter-sawn oak paneling. Other thing that's really amazing in kind of the detail of the home itself is we have these exquisite plaster ceilings, and they're iconic. They tell a story of a very special room that we'll see later in the tour. We were fortunate in the fact that elements like this were in pretty pristine condition, considering they're 120 years old. The woodwork, the oak has weathered well over time. Our bigger challenge have been in some of the things that existed in the home. The wood floors had been replaced at one point. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is give back things to the house that would have been original. And so we, as part of the infrastructure work in the home, we took up the floors so that we could access all of the mechanicals. With the decorative ceilings like we have, it just didn't make sense to try to fish wires and plumbing and HVAC through the decorative plasterwork. It made much more sense to take up the floors. What's amazing about that is we've now been able to create the consistency in the flooring that would have been here when Alfred and Eleanor would have had this as their home.
Speaking of when Alfred and Eleanor lived in the house, if you were a guest, you would have come in the front door and been taken to the reception room while you waited for Alfred or Eleanor to come down the grand staircase and greet you.
This is the funniest thing, I think. As grand as this main level is, this would have been their entertaining level of the home. So they would have mostly spent most of their time upstairs. And I think we just live so differently today. I would spend all of my time in these beautiful spaces. So what was amazing with working with 30 designers is that they brought in inspiration and did things that we would have never thought of. And I love the fact that they really leaned into this juxtaposition of the historic nature of the home, but also with this more modern vibe with furnishings. Vela designed just this beautiful trio of marble tables. One of our requests for the designers, which was led by our architect, was that materials in the home should be evocative of 1903. So you'll see a lot of marble throughout the house, a lot of man-made stone, a lot of handmade pieces. And this was just a really great trio, again, pulling elements from other pieces of the house. From the design perspective, it was kind of an introduction to what you're gonna see in other spaces. And I love that, that it just plays beautifully in this space. The thing for me on this house, and this was funny because when we looked at our former house, one of the requirements that I had for our real estate agent was it had to have a killer staircase. And the one thing that this house, it's like the staircase from Titanic. It's like monumental. And so oddly enough, I think it's the staircase that is the coolest part of the house. I
think for me, the coolest part of the adventure, pulling this house together, you know, when the house was built in 1903, it was built using the best craftspersons of the time and the period. And they were doing work that isn't done today and can't be done today because those crafts have changed or become different. And so when we set out on this project, we looked out and said, well, what does it mean to be artisan in 2024? What does it mean to do craft in 2024? And we looked for those artists here locally in Minneapolis who paint glass, who blow glass, who hand make tile, those craftspersons, and being able to incorporate them throughout the house. So we have a 1903 craftsmanship up against 2024 craftsmanship. I mean, I really loved how that came together and that ability to sort of showcase artists in the designs throughout the space. Welcome to the Peacock Lounge. This is our transformation of the reception hall, or the reception room. Again, beautiful plastered ceilings. Again, the floor we got to redo. We did this great little detail by adding 2 bands of walnut in around the perimeter, just giving it a little bit of an elevated detail. The woodwork is original, and then we found this awesome wallpaper that sort of just is evocative of the peacock feeling we wanted to have in the space. And then those blues and those grays just radiate. And it's a great little sitting room.
What I love is Rob also pulled in draperies, which would have been very common. In 1903, they would have used this actually to control heat within spaces, so it was pretty common in all doorways, particularly larger spaces, to be able to close them off. But what's great is it becomes all of a sudden an intimate space if you want to do something that's a little bit more private and have kind of a little more of a lounge experience with your guests, which I love. The other thing that's really great in this space is the bar. We didn't want to interrupt any of the beautiful molding that wraps the room itself. And so the bar is actually floating in the space. And it has a beautiful reeded front, which is also a quarter sawn oak to match the wall paneling. Tragically, a home that was another Pillsbury mansion. It was built on Lake Minnetonka in just outside of Minneapolis, was torn down right prior to COVID. It was built by the Pillsburys that originally lived across the street from Alfred and Eleanor. They had their summer home on the lake. It was, I think, a 30 or 40,000 square foot mansion, so like 3 or 4 times the size of this. But the peacock inspiration that's in the windows was actually a concept that we wanted to incorporate, and it takes from the motif that was used at Southways. Samuel Yellen, a famous metal worker, had crafted these amazing peacock doors. And since the wallpaper already had that peacock inspiration, we wanted to have a kind of a hallmark to the Southways Pillsbury mansion and a nod to the other parts of the Pillsbury family in our home.
We love entertaining, and this is just a remarkably designed bar. Has everything you'd want to have if you were hosting a party, and we like to host parties. So beautiful reeded bar that was built with the marble on top, and when you come around behind, you can just see it's a fully floating bar, built-in fridge, built-in ice, built-in trash, built-in glass washer, built-in dishwasher, 2 of them, so you can keep going. We put everything we could think of into this bar design. And then added some nice floating shelves on both sides, a little bit of brass, a little bit of glass, and some hand-painted mirror. Again, just to reflect and sort of bounce the light around the space a little bit more.
What I love about the space is it feels like a lounge, like in a boutique hotel. So it's just kind of this intimate gathering space. And we've already actually entertained guests here. So we've been really trying to enjoy utilizing this space as kind of the welcome to our home. Our style is definitely more dark and moody. I would say we lean towards things that are more masculine. In our house, I feel like we've done what I would call a European sensibility, where we've blended the past, but also understood that we also need to transform things to be more modern. A lot of the mansions that we looked at when we were looking at homes in general, a lot of them are dark. And that was one of the things that I think we really appreciated about this home. From what we've heard and what we've read about Alfred, he was very instrumental in the design of this home. Ernest Kennedy was our architect that had built the home, and he had built many of the Pillsbury mansions as well as the notable elite of Minneapolis at the turn of the century. His homes don't feel like this. This house feels very different, and I think it's because Alfred had his hand in the design of this home. One of the big things that makes a huge difference in the space is the use of windows. There's so many windows in this house, and so natural lighting is something that we were drawn to when we walked through the house for the first time, because it is, as much as there is a lot of woodwork in the house, it does feel open and airy, and has a really open floor plan for 1903. At that time, they would have been coming out of the Victorian area, where there would have been a lot of smaller rooms, interconnected, but we have larger, more grand spaces that all kind of open onto each other, kind of like how we live now. And I think that was one of our appreciations of the house and what really drew us to the space.
We're cutting off the cocktail now and welcoming you to the Grand Salon. This is our formal dining room or informal living room combination of space. It's the original great room of the house, and we have taken it into this concept that has a beautiful dining room table running right down the middle of it.
One of the things that we asked for the designer is to figure out how to do configuration of the soft seating and the dining room table. The previous homeowner had the dining room table off-centered in the room and kind of what I would say a bowling alley leading to the fireplace. And we really felt when guests come into our front door, we wanted them to see the hospitality of a grand table, because we imagine that we will spend a lot of meals here entertaining our guests. So the table is kind of a centerpiece of this room. And then what I love is the designer has been a little more playful in color. And we have these beautiful sofas that flank the one side of the room. The woodwork really is the star of this space, and I feel like the elements that have been added into the room really have the mahogany really stands out from that. It was amazing to have craftspeople come in and do a full restoration on this full room. They took the smallest little tools, metal scrapers basically, and basically put back all of the shadow lines into the profiles of the moldings. And it was amazing to see the difference between the before and after, how much those lines really define the beauty of the wood. Honduran mahogany is very rare, and unfortunately over time, sometime during the commercial use of this home, two of the walls were stripped of their original paneling, and so we just have the one feature wall with the windows now that have the original paneling. But the hand-carved motifs were one of the things that really spoke to us as well, just that detail of what the craftspeople created in 1903 for Alfred and Eleanor. Originally, the fireplace, the hearth was actually much larger when we purchased the home. It came out almost as far as the columns. We have seen drawings from publication from the turn of the century that detailed the architecture of the home, and this has been modified over time. There was originally an ingle nook, so benches that wrapped the fireplace. So I imagine the Pillsburys would have come and sat and warmed themselves by the fire. Those were removed, we believe, potentially by the previous homeowner. Prior to that, bookcases flanked the fireplace as well, and those were removed even before that. We've been fortunate enough with the public tour that a lot of people came through that had either worked in the house or had rented pieces of the house over time, and were able to share pictures. So we're starting a document of kind of the living history of the house, which has been fascinating. But we decided, since the ingle nook was no longer here and the fireplace hearth seemed oversized for the room, we utilized the original stone but just made it a little smaller, and then thought about how the finishes could really be enhanced in the space.
We ended up putting a herringbone floor in. We don't know that was originally in this space. It was true of the time period. It was true of Ernest Kennedy, the architect of the home. So we took the liberty of the opportunity, since we were replacing the floors, to adding that sort of elevated level in here and in the music room. And it's just a really remarkable detail. Again, sort of pulls you right on into the room and towards the fireplace, which is great. Lighting really became our opportunity to sort of transition and sort of do that juxtaposition between what was respectful of the wood and the materials, and yet the transitionary kind of piece to a more modern or contemporary way that we wanted to live. You know, we did not want this to feel like a museum. We wanted it to feel inviting like a home, and light fixtures really sort of gave us that opportunity. So a lot of brass, a lot of glass, a lot of contemporary forms.
Well, and I think one of the things that was the opportunity is we knew that the original light fixtures in the home had been removed and had been sold. They were valuable sometime probably in the 70s or 80s. They were sold off. So we weren't tied to keeping something for its historic nature because it wasn't, at this point, what was replaced was not of the house. And so it really did give designers a great opportunity to lean into things that were more artistic.
We love also the way the designers were able to integrate sort of sustainable materials. So this fabric is actually recycled plastic bottles, which is super, super cool. And we went ahead with a natural cork for the wall finishing in this space. Again, the designer really wanted the wood to pop, and this use of this eucalyptus cork with a little bit of gold fleck and a little bit of gloss, I think really allows that to happen because it feels rich, but it's subdued or subtle enough sort of in the background. And it's so cool to just know that that's cork. And then we took the opportunity with the fireplace to jazz that up with a woven fabric wall covering that is on the fireplace and is also on the reverse of the archways. We added in a mirrored tile for the far end of the room. It is a very simple 1, 2, 3 tile pattern. We just did it in an offset way so that it doesn't look like vertical stripes, and it adds a little bit of sexy charm to this great room. But it lets us reflect those columns, and so if you're standing here on the front of the room and taking a look at the fireplace, you will see that the wallpaper appears to continue off to both sides into the reflection because it was also done on the reverse sides of the columns. Which is really, really fun. And then it pops itself up onto the ceiling as well. There's a lot of sort of fifth wall finishes in this house. That was an exciting opportunity to sort of showcase materials used in that way. My other favorite detail is these chairs and the dining room table, which are from a company called Pagato. It's a Guatemalan family of designers, and these are bound strips of birch that are then laminated together and formed into the shape. It looks a little crazy. It is remarkably comfortable. And the table, again, is sort of this very, very sexy form that just pulls you right into the room underneath the glass. Beautiful sort of piece we got to use in the centerpiece of our great hall.
So what we loved was the fact that these cabinets just have a collection of our things that we've collected over time, whether it be on travels or just things that maybe have been from a family member, just things that really spoke to us. And it was great that the designers really leaned into our personal effects as they created the design home for us. The other thing that's really interesting about this room is in the 70s, the house was occupied by an architecture firm. And they had enclosed the open-air porch and were using it for storage for their blueprints. Turns out blueprints at the time were very flammable, and the house had a fire. And so there are 3 beams in this room that were replaced. They're actually not mahogany anymore. And there was originally 3 windows along this wall. One of the windows was significantly damaged in the fire, and the previous homeowners, when they moved the kitchen, ended up removing windows so that they would have a functional wall in the kitchen for cabinetry. And so this room has changed over time. Originally it was a mirror image. There would have been 3 windows on one side facing the front of the house, and then 3 windows on the back of the house that would have looked out into the open air terrace. So what's great is we can transition from the grand salon directly into the kitchen. And this used to be the open air porch. The previous homeowners moved the kitchen, the original kitchen from the back of the house, and enclosed this porch so that the kitchen was more adjacent to the main living space, which is how we live now. Obviously in 1903, the Pillsburys wouldn't have spent time in their own kitchen. They would have had staff that would have prepared their meals. Well, now the kitchen is bathed in light, which is amazing. They filled basically the recesses in the stone with glass and created a room in something that would have just been an open air space before. What we love about the kitchen is that it now feels like it's part of the house. The original kitchen, which was done in early 2000s, really didn't feel like the home itself, and what the designers did with this space is create something that is actually 2 kitchens. Originally it was one huge open space, and they've created a more formal gallery kitchen, and then also a secondary scullery area.
We have this remarkable island. Again, we love entertaining and to host. You know, we've already had 23 people around this island, so it is substantial. But these gorgeous marble countertops. And then a 5-foot sink, which we were told is like the size of a bathtub. Obviously not the width way, but like the length way. Like this is the length of a bathtub. So we have a 5-foot sink and a 5-foot cooktop, which seems absolutely killer to me, or crazy, and very intimidating on some levels. But I believe the kitchen has 5 ovens and there's 23 appliances in this space that were designed in, which is so cool.
Well, and what I appreciate too is the fact that the appliances are all very modern in aesthetic. They're all Gaggenau, and normally that brand you typically will see in much more modern new builds. But I love how it integrates into kind of this classic feel because they just kind of seamlessly blend. The other feature that I love in this room is the mirror wall. That space, eventually, we hope to break through this wall and enclose the porte-cochere. Originally, since this would have been the back terrace of the home, the Pillsburys would have had their carriage, and then eventually Alfred was one of the first 3 automobile owners in Minneapolis. They would have been dropped off here in the porte-cochere. They would have come up a set of stairs onto this terrace and then go through what would have been the back door of the home or the family entrance of the home. So we're hoping in the future that we can enclose the porte-cochere and make that a breakfast room off the kitchen, which would be an amazing kind of informal space. But for now, the mirror is amazing. It just really transforms and doubles the space and is so reflective and bounces the light.
Like I said, there's like 23 appliances hiding in this kitchen and scullery, and as Matthew mentioned, they're beautifully built in. So from a coffee maker and a speed oven to a warming drawer and a vacuum sealer. But the best little trick, I think, is this built-in tray for your coffee. So you're ready to go, and it has its own spot right there.
The next space is our scullery, which is literally another full kitchen. So we have this amazing oven, a refrigerator, cooktop, hidden ice maker, kind of everything you would need for catering or entertaining. So when we're entertaining guests and we're actually not the ones cooking, this is a really great space for caterers to function and still giving us use of the full kitchen. But one of my favorite parts is the kind of butler's pantry side of the kitchen with these amazing cabinets that have this gorgeous kind of almost terracotta interior. Great for storing kind of all of our party essentials and doing it in style. So we have a range of just kind of entertaining elements in here, like our collection of place card holders. Everybody needs those. But some of my favorite things are William and Morris pattern china, which is really fun. So we're really excited to entertain in the Grand Salon. But probably our most cherished piece that's housed in the cabinetry is a 1929 trophy that Alfred Pillsbury presented for the Woodhill Horse Show. Our designer that did the kitchen and scullery, Kate, actually found this in an antique store. And so this is one of our prized possessions, something that actually Alfred had presented in 1923.
And the other piece that Kate found that no kitchen should be without: a Pillsbury Doughboy. One more remarkable detail. Again, this was an all stone, limestone, open air porch originally. And so when they went to put in the cabinets, they had to scribe the detail. And it was crazy watching them do this and figure out how to get the woodwork to line up, how to get the ceiling to line up, and how to get the stone to line up.
Let's head on to the music room. Follow us. And here we are in the music room. This was originally Alfred and Eleanor's formal dining room, but when the kitchen moved from the back of the home to its new location in the open air porch, this no longer made sense as the dining room since the kitchen was basically across the house. And so we have turned this into more of our formal living space, and we call it our music room because it features our baby grand piano. When we purchased the house, we loved the woodwork. Again, this is all mahogany in here. It was in really poor condition. The finish had basically alligatored. It was a shellac, and over time, with the exposure to the sunlight, with all the natural light that does come into this space, it had all crackled. What's amazing about shellac is the fact that they can spray it with denatured alcohol, and they sprayed it like 100 times, and it slowly smoothed out the finish, and then they were able to add additional shellac on top of it, and now it looks as if it's a finish of a fancy piano.
We found an original photo of this space. It's one of sort of 6. Again, because the Pillsburys did not have children, there wasn't necessarily a good lineage of photographs. We're hoping, and over time, trying to find more pictures of what the house did look like. But we had one photo of this space when it was the dining room, and it did have a landscape mural on it. And so we worked with the designer to bring that back, but to bring it back in a more contemporary fashion. A lot of people think this is painted. It isn't. It's wall covering again, and as well, the ceilings were featured with wall papers, which was a lot of fun to watch the guy put up while he was walking around on stilts. But again, just the finish of the 5th wall sort of elevates the entire room to a little more grand level and a little more contemporarily grand level, which is a lot of fun.
The other thing, we kind of made a strategic choice in the home. There were 5 fireplaces that existed in the home. The chimneys were really compromised, and so we have decided that it was more appropriate to put in a gas fireplace insert in the home. We couldn't imagine actually trying to burn wood in this house. I would be scared that we would burn the house down. So that was one change that we made that did modernize the house, but gave us the opportunity to really utilize the fireplaces in a way we couldn't if we didn't do the insert. The other really fun part of this room, I think, is the furnishings. Again, they lean towards a little bit more modern, contemporary lines, and I think it really helps the detail of the room stand out. It's just a relaxing and very cozy space. I think what I appreciate about what the designers did in all of the spaces is the fact that we can come into any of these rooms, even though they're grand, they feel really welcoming, and I would not have any qualms about coming in here and just opening up and reading a book. And there's so many spaces throughout the house that are like that.
Now's our chance to go down a grand staircase, and it's a little crazy. When we first came into the house, we were curious, why would there be a grand staircase to the basement? Well, when you have a 17th century Tudor library that you're trying to show off, it makes a little bit of sense to have a grand stair. Alfred imported this room and reconstructed it in the basement of the house, building the rest of the house around it. And it is a remarkable piece of history that we get to live with every day. So this is all hand-carved, 1600s, English. We don't know where in England it is from, but it is English. An English room, from what we have been told. The whole room had been imported, floors, walls, ceiling, fireplace. When we moved into the house, the floors had actually rotted away, so we were not able to reclaim them. We had to replace them with a new wood floor that would stay up in the basement, but the rest of the room was restored and brought back to life. These panels are all hand carved, and it's really cool. They change size actually as they go up. They get smaller, which is a trick of forced perspective to make the room feel even taller than it is. We have 11-foot ceilings in this room, and it's because that this room was sort of built in the basement. And up above us is a remarkable plaster ceiling. This is the original ceiling upon which the ceilings on the first floor are based. And recreated from. But you can just see all of the detail, both in the plaster ceiling and in the hand-carved wood around the perimeter of the room. It is really a remarkable landmark, and it's so awesome that we were able to, A, that it was in good enough condition, but B, that we were able to bring it back to life. About 20 panels had to be replaced, and some of the plaster needed to be repaired. But we're so excited to sort of have this room in the house. Even though we've got a set of original windows, we're below ground. This is actually built in the basement and the rest of the house is built around it. And so you can see that because the windows still work as we open it up. Come right on through. But the limestone foundation of the house is right there, probably about 2.5 feet away from the outside. The designer we worked with for this space reconceptualized the room as a billiards room. So we got our great billiards table and very contemporary light fixtures, but the wood still sings, and that's the signature element of this place, or of this room. Alfred used this room to show off his art collection. And so we assume that maybe he would be entertaining guests, they'd be having dinner, they would come downstairs, and he would have some of his artwork on display. But having 900 pieces of art, he needed some place to keep them. So he had a vault. We built sort of a custom bar to insert into the walls and then set out this furniture. We imagine this being a place that you're going to come for an after dinner drink. We want the ability to sort of flip it out and host a dinner down here. It's just a really cool secret little room off the billiards room. When we moved in, not much remained of what probably was originally the structure. Just really these two pieces of marble and the flooring. So we were able to sort of refinish the flooring. We recreated the marble to keep that detail going on here, and then brought in new marble to sort of finish off the floor and sort of keep the space. The designer came in and added the barrel curved ceiling in, and then needed sort of a long linear light fixture, and so just fell in love with this faceted, almost necklace-like alignment of 3 different light strands for the ceiling. So we have a fully custom leather sofa and pillows, custom fabricated chair, custom marble little table, and this fun little cheetah ottoman to just, add a little bit of surprise and delight into the room. And then we did a detail on the carpet to sort of give it a non-traditional shape. And just, again, adds a little bit of sexy fun to this room. And it's just a sexy, fun room. It's remarkable, again, to be in a house and sort of have 11-foot ceilings in the basement. And again, a little bit of nice natural light that's coming on in. But we were able to sort of reclaim this unused space to be an extension of a lounge and a home theater. Favorite details by far, this is true leather wallpaper, and the zippers are real. They could work if they weren't glued down. But the walls and the ceiling are both leather panels. That gives the room a little bit of nice acoustical property, and also just a really great sort of finishing detail. And then the designer created this timbre wall that we're really proud of and excited by, that sort of sits over here and allows this to be a nice lounge space when you want it to be a lounge space, or when it's time for a movie, you just slide it open. We didn't want a theater that was just a theater and that was sort of dominated or overwhelmed by the screen all the time or by 2 sort of giant chairs. So we love the fact that this is sort of a lounge space in which it's comfortable to gather, or a great place to watch a movie or a game.
So we met through kind of our business industry. Both Ryan and I work in events. We belong to an association of event professionals, and Ryan called me up one day and said, "Hey, I see you're a new member of the association. I happen to be doing an event at the convention center. I see you're having an event the same weekend. I have a bunch of calla lilies that are being used for a lunch, and we're gonna throw them away after. Would you have any use for them?" And I was like, "Of course." And that was kind of our first connection.
That turned into dinner, and then 17 years of crazy adventures together. So that's been a lot. It's been a lot of fun. This being the biggest,
Yes,
for sure.
What's cool, however, about that story is when we take a tour of the home, there is a mural that was created and commissioned for the home, and to tell kind of our story kind of in 3 parts: our past, our present, and our future. Yeah. And the artist chose to incorporate calla lilies also into that mural, which is really cool. So it's been interesting as an adventure. This project happened in 12 months. Construction happened in only 9 months. We did a full transformation of all the space. As I think challenging of all the moving pieces, like quick timeline, lots of individuals involved. What Ryan and I discovered is this project actually pulled us closer together.
That's true.
Where it could easily have pushed us apart.
Yeah, no, it really did.
Because there's so many dynamics that happen with something of this scale.
Were there moments where we're ripping our hair out? For sure. Were there things we didn't understand? Yes. It's crazy. Like we're in the event industry, so we are used to quick timelines and we are used to designing space. So we're design adjacent, which probably made us very good clients. It probably also made us really terrible clients because we knew just enough to be dangerous in what we were doing.
But we're used to working in an industry where a timeline is finite. Whereas interior design and construction is a little more fluid than that. And so that was an interesting kind of learning curve. So let me take you on to the second level where the Pillsburys would have spent all of their kind of daily living, but it's now our bedroom quarters. Come on up with me. So as we come up to the second floor landing, we have this amazing mural, and I referenced this earlier about the fact that we have kind of our history, both past, present, and future. And so the story of the calla lily is depicted here, which I love, and this is actually hand painted by a local set of artisans called By Shishi, and they did the entire concept for this mural, kind of a Matisse inspired, or one of the other inspirations that we had given to them was I love how the juxtaposition of the Paris Opera House and the Chagall ceiling. This is kind of an interpretation of that without the bright colors that are in that. But there are depictions of children in our future, which is also really fun, a nod to we love theater and Disney, so there are some Disney-esque elements that lead into the kids' room as well. But again, you can see also that beautiful two-story chandelier really is the centerpiece of this beautiful space at the top of the stairs. So welcome into our primary suite. This would have originally been a set of rooms that Mrs. Pillsbury would have used as her sitting room. So this originally wasn't a bedroom, and we've converted it into our primary bedroom. What I love about the space is the fact that it's kind of two rooms in one. And what's really great about the new design of the space is the fact that Chris, the designer of this space, actually created two chandeliers that really orient the bed space and then kind of the soft seating living space of this room. We've added in these beautiful kind of coved recesses for those chandeliers. Originally the room had one center chandelier, but with the fact that we really kind of wanted to create two spaces, this made a lot more sense. What I really love about this particular room is the fireplace. The tile is original, and there are green accents kind of throughout the entire primary suite based on the tile from this fireplace. This was originally a coal-burning fireplace, and eventually we would like to have a custom insert made so that we could actually use it. Obviously, we're not going to be burning coal in the home, but it is a really great feature of this room. The other thing that we really enjoy in the bedroom space is the fact that it has windows that overlook downtown Minneapolis, and so the skyscrapers of the city skyline are just out our windows. Eventually, if we can get permission through the Historic Preservation Commission, we'd like to actually turn these windows into doors. There is a terrace outside of the bedroom that is the roof of the kitchen space that would make a beautiful additional living space, and having doors from the bedroom into kind of that outdoor patio space would be amazing. Ryan and I argued a little bit about whether or not we would have a television in the bedroom, and so this was a really creative piece. This is actually a retired Ethan Allen element. It was a freestanding television cabinet, so TV actually raises up out of this. It has a lift system, and so Ryan was able to get the television in the bedroom and I don't have to look at it. What was creative with our contractors is they actually recessed it into the wall so it looks like a built-in. Throughout the renovation of the home is we've really tried to find ways to connect both the past with the present, but in a way that is really seamless, so you really can't tell what is old and what is new. And I think the woodwork in the house is one of those best examples. One of the things that we did was we remilled the original woodwork so that any of the new elements that we were adding to the house were identical to the original. There had been a lot of renovation and restoration over the course of time in the house, and so one of the things that we discovered is a lot of the wood profiles within the woodwork and the baseboards specifically were not original, and we wanted to be as true to the original intent as possible. I think one of the best examples of that is our primary bathroom. When we purchased the house, what is now the primary bathroom was a closet, and what is now the closet was the primary bathroom. We felt that the closet was oversized and the bathroom was undersized, so we did a flip-flop. The other really important thing for me personally was to start creating some really great lines of sight through the home. And we had this beautiful 3-window kind of bay concept that was obscured by a third of the closet. And so by rearranging the entrance into this space, we were able to line the door up with the window and created basically a gallery. So you kind of walk through a series of rooms, ending with this beautiful soaking tub. And then one of my favorite features, we have a coffee machine here built in, and as a trade-off, I get the coffee, but Ryan gets the ice cream. So we have a freezer here as well. So the primary suite is definitely decked out with everything that you would need, whether you're getting up in the morning for a fresh cup of coffee, or if you want to tuck into bed with a gallon of Ben & Jerry's. So the other really amazing feature is this huge, I call it the car wash size shower that is fully lined with marble. It has a rain head, it's got double head showers, it's also a steam shower and has a body spray system. It's like having your own spa oasis in the primary suite. Double vanities was another important piece for this, and cleverly the contractor built in our medicine cabinets into a framed concept. And what I love about the medicine cabinets is there's actually electrical built in, so you can have kind of your razor, your electric toothbrush, all of that can be hidden off of the counter space. Another really fun product that we discovered is what's called a 22 system outlet, which is basically just the outlet itself, so that it doesn't require a cover plate, and it's actually kind of built into the materials, just a really kind of seamless look, and really kind of lets the stone of the room stand out. As I think we mentioned earlier, one of the requirements that we had for the designers were for them to use things that would have been of the period of 1903. So that's why you see the natural marble kind of throughout this space. And even though this is a brand new bathroom, it does feel like it's always been here. The other really special space in the suite is our killer closet. And so we have a fully built-in wardrobe system with internal lighting. We love the fact that with the seated glass, you can still see into kind of our collection of clothing, but it has this really great look, definitely a more masculine space. I think that's one of the things that we really ask designers to lean into is we do like these darker, richer colors. And one of the signature pieces in the closet is this steam closet. Which is a new thing, which we're super excited to give that a try as well. So just a really special space. One of the other details that was really fun working with craftsmen and craftspeople is our wallpaper installer had a recommendation for the designer to basically do a gift wrap concept on the ceiling in this room. So you can see that the wallpaper actually comes to a point in the center of the room, and then they've done a band of the wallpaper kind of crisscrossing from corner to corner, which is really fun. Really kind of draws your eye to the chandelier, which is a really great feature in this space. You'll notice also, again, the repetition of the green. So this green comes from the tile, and it's just a green glass door on the upper parts of the cabinet. In the primary bathroom, the walls are actually painted a green. So there's just kind of a nod to that green throughout the spaces. So we're really fortunate in having really a luxurious suite. It almost feels like we're at a luxury hotel. A space that we'll definitely want to retire to for the evenings. So next on our tour is the kids' bedroom, and we're really excited about that because it's part of our journey of our next part of our life. So let's take a look. So this is the most special room in the house, and this is the one that made me cry when the designer Lucy Penfield showed us her renderings. What we had asked for is a space that felt like the nursery in Mary Poppins or Peter Pan, and what she delivered is just that. Like, this is such a playful space. It's filled with fabrics and patterns, and there's some kind of fun pieces within the room that are special to us because they were in the home when we purchased it. So the beds were reclaimed. The previous homeowners had an auction and sold off a lot of their furnishings. And we saw these twin beds and felt that they would be a perfect addition to the space. Same with this armoire. And what Lucy ended up doing is painting them in a kind of a slate blue finish, which is just beautiful. So kind of modernizing the feel of the classic pieces, but having something that was in the home was really fun. The other really great addition to this space is what we call story time. And it's basically a series of banquettes filling the bay window. We decided to give our future children kind of the best room in the house. This one has the best lighting. This would have been originally Alfred's sitting room, so it's a really important space. Knowing that we would have kids, but the room had a fireplace, one of our concerns was who did we need to protect more, the fireplace or the kids? And so Ryan works with Children's Theater Company, and their scenic department actually built us this stage that basically covers the fireplace until the kids are old enough to probably move to rooms upstairs when they would have separate rooms. But in the meantime, they have a theater stage, so their imagination can run wild. So one of my favorite pieces of the house, because again, it's that leading into the artistry of local artists and something that is personal to us. The suite also has a cute little powder room as well, and we can take you in there. Again, a lot of our requests were to create spaces that felt like they were original, and so this is a beautifully tiled room. We mimicked the original marble surrounds on the windows. This was indicative of actually all of the bathrooms in the house, and so we wanted to keep that at least in one of the spaces. And so even though this is a brand new space, it really feels like it's always there. And I think that was the important thing. As we transitioned spaces within the house, we did really want to honor kind of the legacy of what was here before and really lean into the pieces that would feel appropriate for the house. That was really important to us. One of the elements that I love from an art perspective in the house is there's just so many different kind of types of art. And when Lucy was shopping, she found these vintage Babar prints that I believe are from 1940s, which is really great. And they just work really beautifully in the room. And again, kind of tie into kind of that European sense and kind of blending some of that. We know that was important for Alfred to bring in those European influences. And I love that we're doing that in this, what I would call a very English nanny style bedroom.
Welcome to what is my office. You know, Matt's not going to tell you this, but really I'm the big kid in the relationship. So this is sort of the place in which we get to monkey around and do our business while we're there. Thus the theme. Beautiful denim wallpaper that is hand stitched with snow monkeys hiding in the pattern. and that was finished off with sort of this great little monkey light fixture. We have the little monkeys crawling around and deconstructing the chandelier. Those two elements sort of really came together to give us a little bit of theme for this office, which I love because it's whimsical and fun, and yet it's still refined in a nice little way, which has really been pleasurable and fun to create. Ended up building in sort of these walnut cabinets and leveraging that orange color that comes out of the wallpaper. Again, that saturated color is great, and yet it's not as overwhelming as I think most people would think. You know, most people would think you're gonna do a big bold color, it's gonna sort of drive you bonkers, but in this room, it's nothing but color. The saturated anchors away blue that's in the doorknobs and the trim. Like I said, the orange, the blue and the brass and the walnut really come together, I think, in a great way. And then we have that little bit of gold gilding reflected in the ceiling. That is a wall covering. It actually has real gold foil in it. I just love how it sort of like pulls everything together in this room.
I think collectively home means family. Part of the reason we purchased this home was to start our family. We've waited a long time to do that, and so we're excited to create adventures. The house is full of stories. The house is full of playful opportunities. The house has been designed for children. There's an amazing bedroom suite for our future kids. There's playrooms, there's secret passages. It's just, I think,
There's a lot of whimsy.
Home encapsulates that whimsy that we'll have as a family. Thanks, Homeworthy, for coming and joining us today on our tour of our home.
But I smell cookies in the oven, so we gotta go. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.